Addressed Cape Townians at a packed Grote Kerk in Cape Town yesterday, praising South Africa for its genocide case against Israel in the International Court of Justice. Tomorrow, she will use the Desmond and Leia Tutu Legacy Foundation as her base to speak directly to the United Nations on her latest findings, as she's banned from entering the United States. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
A police ballistic expert is set to testify at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. The witness will appear in person at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria. Last week, 3 witnesses, all members of the Gauteng Counterintelligence Operations Unit, testified partially in camera before the commission. The Madlanga Commission was set up by President Cyril Ramaphosa to investigate allegations of corruption and political interference within the criminal justice system. Oren Singh reports.
Last week, members of the Gauteng Counterintelligence Operations Unit investigating the murder case of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart raised serious concerns with the detective assigned to compile the ballistics report at the Silverton Forensics Lab in Pretoria. According to the investigating officer in the Swart murder case, Witness B, the ballistics report was later removed on SAPS's internal system. The team then took the decision to send the firearms allegedly used in the murder of Swart to KZN's forensic lab for a second opinion. Madlanga Commission spokesperson Jeremy Michaels confirmed a new witness will testify remotely tomorrow, with Witness C, a detective previously attached to the political killings task team, set to resume with his testimony on Thursday. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
The legality of the city of Ekurhuleni's decision to expropriate privately owned land without compensation in Boksburg has come under scrutiny. The Metro seized the 34-hectare property from its longtime owners in 2019, but the matter has been tied up in litigation ever since. This week, the Metro and the landowners are set to enter a court-directed mediation to determine whether the owners are entitled to compensation. Business Venture Investment 900, which is the company that owns the land, is demanding a payout of no less than 30 million rand. Afra Mushwana reports.
At the heart of this legal dispute is the question of whether South Africa currently has a law that explicitly permits land expropriation without compensation. The controversial Expropriation Act of 2024, which allows for zero compensation under certain conditions, has been passed but is not yet in force. A property law lecturer at Stellenbosch University, Tanfir Jiwa, believes that the city of Ekurhuleni misinterpreted the law in claiming that its offer of no compensation is justified.
There is no justification of how they get to nil compensation, or even what exactly allows them to have nil compensation. The city didn't engage with the correct law, and the court took them at face value and didn't engage either.
Section 25 of the Constitution stipulates that compensation for expropriation must be just and equitable, taking into account the property's value and other relevant factors. However, the city of Ekurhuleni argues that since the land has not generated any economic activity, offering zero compensation is justified. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And 10 people will go on trial in Paris today for sexist cyber harassment of France's First Lady Brigitte Macron. This is the latest case sparked by unsubstantiated gender claims thrown at her for years by some in France and beyond. The trial comes after Brigitte and the President Emmanuel Macron filed a defamation lawsuit in the United States earlier this year in connection with the rumor amplified and repeated online that she was assigned male at birth. The 10 defendants, 8 men and 2 women aged 41 to 60, will be tried in a Paris criminal court, and they are accused of cyber crime harassment, and if convicted, they face up to 2 years in prison. Gold is trading at $4,081.91 an ounce. The rand is at 17.21 to the dollar, 22.92 to the pound, 20.01 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.18 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Tembisa, we've got heavy delays on the R21 North between the R25 and Olifantsfontein Road. That's due to roadworks while traveling in Midrand. An accident reported on the N1 South after New Road, causing delays coming out of Samrand Avenue. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic along the N3 North. This is between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baklu interchange due to an accident near Marlborough, as well as roadworks near the Baklu turnoff.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with scattered isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 27 and 29 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: Parliament's International Relations Committee has welcomed the Justice Minister's withdrawal of permission to serve legal papers on the UN Special Rapporteur on the Palestine-occupied territories, Francesca Albanese.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 702.
Let's Walk the Talk, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I wish you all the best also with the week ahead, with whatever you've planned this week. Thank you for joining us here on 702. How did you find the Mexican Grand Prix last night? I stayed up because I didn't want to miss it. Why didn't I want to miss it? Well, because Charles and Lewis we're going to start from P2 and P3. And I thought this is a great chance for Ferrari. I wanted to see both Charles and Lewis on the podium at the end of the race. But that was wishful thinking. It wasn't to be so for Lewis for all sorts of reasons. You know, I have no capacity to even get into those reasons. But well done to Lando Norris, who finished first, followed by Charles and Max. Lando had a brilliant start, good pace. He's now on top of the driver's table. Let's see how the next races are going to look like. I'm interested, though, in how you found the Mexican Grand Prix. Were you excited? Were you disappointed? 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. How many of you were supposed to run the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon actually managed to find another marathon to run after the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon was cancelled last week? I mean, we were all wondering last week about what we are going to do with all the miles that we have loaded. And I wonder if you have managed to find another marathon to offload or if you're just letting it go. I know other people have decided to consider the Soweto Marathon. Some of us went to KwaZulu-Natal this weekend to do the Sapphire Coast Marathon in Amazimtoti. It was so well organized and so well curated. I loved it, except my Achilles showed me flames from around 10K. So I just ran to finish, basically, because I was injured. What have you decided to do, though, after the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon was cancelled? Is that it for you, or you do still want to run another marathon before the year ends? And which one is that? Please give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. By the way, does anybody know how the name Amazimtoti came about? Because someone said to me that Shaka Zulu named the place Amazimtoti because the water just tasted different. And I must say, the water did taste different during the run yesterday. And of course, some of that water probably was ordered from Joburg or whatever the case may be. But because I had that information at the back of my mind about Shaka Zulu supposedly saying the water here tastes different, that's how it felt, or that's how the water tasted to me. And different, not in a good way. It's just a funny taste to the water. Or maybe it was in the sun for too long. I don't know. But that's how I felt. But if anybody knows the history around even the name of the place, how that came about, please let me know. I'm interested to learn that. 011-883-0702. At 10 o'clock, we're going to speak to the technical advisor to the National Treasury, Ismail Momoniat, about South Africa's exit from the grey list.
10:30, we continue with the series that we started last week, looking at South African wars. It's a history lesson, and I always love history lessons. Last week, we started with the First Boer War. Today, we're discussing the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. I mean, this was one of the great 19th century battles that played out in what is today northern KwaZulu-Natal province, when you had these British forces invading Zululand to subjugate the kingdom, then ruled by King Cetshwayo at the time. While this was relatively short-lived, the Anglo-Zulu War has been the subject of numerous historical studies, works of fiction, international films, and today it's actually considered one of Britain's worst colonial defeats. So we'll find out more about this at 10:30 as we continue with our series looking at South African wars. And then at 11 o'clock on our Family Matters feature, I want us to have a conversation about how you as a parent, as a guardian, can guide your children when it comes to friendships. How do you make sure that your kids choose the right friends? Friendships are among the most powerful forces that shape a child's life, because they teach you empathy, they teach you cooperation, there's trust that those friendships teach you. But they can also lead to heartbreak, they can lead to insecurity, dangerous peer pressure. And for many parents, one of the hardest balancing acts is actually knowing when to step in, when to hold back, and how to guide your children through friendships that can either build or break their confidence. But you also want to do it in a way that you're not necessarily interfering, you're allowing for the children to make their own decisions. And that's what I want us to look at today on our Family Matters feature. How can parents teach their children to recognize the red flags in friendships? Like when there's manipulation, when there's peer pressure, when there's exclusion. And when should you as a parent intervene directly in a child's friendship? And when is it better to let the child handle it on their own? How do you guide them? That's a conversation I want us to have on our Family Matters feature at 11 o'clock. That's the show coming up over the next 3 hours.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Yo, Clement, amazimdoti Shaka didn't want to say Amanzi, Nandi, because his mother is Nandi. So he came about, he derived Amdoti because he didn't want Abantu to say Amanzi, Nandi. And then he said Amanzi, Amdoti, because of umama wake ngunandi angafuni ukuthi amanzi amnandi.
Interesting.
Morning, Clement and the 702 land. It's truly at Sky City. Yeah, Ash, on my site after Sanlam, I just decided that no, all the fitness, I will go and offload everything at Jacaranda on the 8th of November. Jacaranda Marathon. Yeah, there at Pretoria.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Someone else says, hi, Clement. After the Cape Town movie, we are heading to Nelspruit for the Kapsehoop Marathon. That's a message there from Tato. So there are a few options then that are available for some people who still want to offload on what they have loaded, the miles that they have loaded. I decided to do it at Amazimdoti yesterday. Yeah, I decided to do it at Amazimdoti yesterday. And some people, I know Soweto Marathon is coming up as well. Soweto is really tough for me. My first marathon actually was Soweto Marathon. Who starts their first marathon? Was it Soweto? Yeah, I think it was. Probably first or second. And that was so tough. But anyway, that's another option that other people are looking at. What are you doing? How are you replacing the Cape Town Marathon? Because some people do want to continue with training until they can just get it right and do maybe the last marathon for the year. What is it for you? You can give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. It's 16 minutes after 9.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on
Why are
702.
people telling me about, Pirates didn't play this weekend, and if Pirates played, we would have woken up to a pirate song on your show, Clement? What happened, Gandhi? What did I miss? Did Chiefs play and miraculously win? Because normally when these messages come, you know that that's probably what happened. I'm not aware of Chiefs winning anything lately, or even this past weekend. So if they won anything, please let me know. I don't mind congratulating them. Here's a question I have for you. It's a bit of a tricky one. What do you think should happen now to some of the senior cops that have been implicated at the Madlanga Commission? And I'm asking you this question not because I have an answer or because I think what I'm suggesting perhaps is the right thing to do. I am a little concerned that the evidence we have seen being produced at the Madlanga Commission has really implicated or shows the extent to which some of our senior cops have actually had relations with criminals, some of whom are behind bars right now as we speak. And that concerns me. And there are people who have investigated the crimes or the alleged crimes against these guys that are arrested, some of whom are on bail. And I wonder if those people's lives are not more in danger now that they're spilling the beans and giving the details of what's been uncovered. So what I'm saying is, the longer you've got these senior cops in the force and continuing with their work, the more danger is placed on the people that have been investigating this criminal syndicate. And I'm trying to figure out what the option could be. Because President Cyril Ramaphosa, when he established the Madlanga Commission, he said the commissioners must be the ones that decide whether there must be people that must be arrested, whether there must be cases that must be prioritized and investigated, etc., etc. But the evidence that we've been seeing at the Madlanga Commission, I mean, you look at the head of the Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal, the relationship that he had with Kat Matlala, the conversations that they had. You look at the flats that were supposedly apparently purchased, they were discussing that. You look at the conversation that the organized crime, the head of organized crime in this country had with the guys who were investigating Katiso Molefe. I can go on and on. There's a Ferenaching or some district commissioner who went to visit Katiso Molefe in jail, who's had some questionable behavior based on the evidence we've had at the Madlanga Commission. There's General Sinona, there's Richard Shibiri. I can go on, and I'm wondering if you think these people must be suspended temporarily while the work at the Madlanga Commission continues and the SAPS can start their work of also following their own internal processes to figure out if they didn't violate any laws. Or do you think that it's better to wait for the end of the commission? Let's wait for the end of the commission and then let's hear what the recommendations will be from the commissioners. My worry with that is, what happens between now and then? Do you really think that these people that are being exposed, these guys that are being exposed, are just sitting and doing nothing? And they're just going to wait until they go to the Madlanga Commission, put their story there, and then they go back home and they do their job? My worry is there are so many people that have been killed here. Whistleblowers, police officers who are investigating crimes that were linked to some of these powerful business people. And here are the cops that we are told were protecting those people. Do you really think they're not going to mount a fight back? Are we waiting for somebody else to die? One of the cops investigating to die first before we can say, okay, something has got to be done here. They must be arrested, or the SAPS must investigate their roles and their behaviors with these criminal elements. What are we waiting for? And I worry that by the time that decision gets taken, it's probably going to be too late. Let me know what your thoughts are on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. I've got Oren Singh, who who is our EWN reporter, who's going to join us after the break, just to explain to you who are some of these senior cops that have been mentioned at the Madlanga Commission. Because I think sometimes we forget, because there's so much going on. You're focusing on the Madlanga, you're focusing on Parliament, but there are certain people that, at least based on the evidence that's been presented at the Madlanga Commission, are compromised as senior cops. And we've got to know their names, we've got to know what they're involved in, and hopefully there will be a decision taken so that they stop their work on their tracks, because we don't know what else they're doing. I mean, for a district commissioner to go visit someone who is accused of such ridiculous, crazy crimes like Katiso Molefe, and you've got a district police commissioner who goes to bring him food and clothes, what does that tell you? That conversation coming up, but please let me know your thoughts. Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. It's 22 after 9.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Christian Friends of Israeli Communities and Christians for Israel, USA. So a USA-based entity that was serving civil papers on Francesca Albanese in South Africa. Surely that shouldn't be allowed?
It's not up to a person that institutes civil legal proceedings against another person in another country to simply just serve those same papers.
Benedict Piri is our legal expert. He's also the managing director of Jurisprudentia's Special Counsel.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Get ready, South Africa. Mzansi Ballet proudly presents Sean Bovim's Private Presley, the ballet, a spectacular reimagining of the life and legend of Elvis Presley from his military days to his greatest loves experience, the king of rock and roll story told through breathtaking dance, starring international ballet sensation George Wade from Mexico as Elvis and South Africa's own prima ballerina Angela Revi as Priscilla. Beautiful singers Logan James and Patience Mahema bring some of his unforgettable songs to life. Don't miss this unforgettable tribute on stage at the Peter Turin Theatre, Monte Cassino on the 24th of October to the 30th of November. Book now at Web Tickets.
The milk steamer was loud. So loud that Lungi heard hot milk instead of oat milk. It was bad. So bad. The milk didn't really sit right with the lactose intolerant customer. It was bad. So bad. Too bad they didn't have Yoko Counter. With Yoko Printer, orders flow straight to the barista. So good. Yoko Counter. Super simple POS and payments in one. No contracts, no hidden costs.
PG Glass Repair, PG Glass Replace.
Hi, I'm Komoto, PG Glass Technician. At PG Glass, we keep your windscreen chip-free and crystal clear.
Choose PG Glass, quality you can trust. Visit pg.co.za.
It's happening right now. Swiper by Absa Rewards and 702 could make you win big. All you have to do is shout "Swiped" and lock in up to 25,000 Rand cash. And if you're an active Absa Rewards member, you'll win a 5,000 Rand bonus and go into the draw for a brand new JQ J5 Vortex plus 3 months of premium car insurance from Absa Insurance. Send hashtag Absa Swiper Rewards to 067 384 0022 and 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa could call you next. Your story matters. Absa. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's available at primemediaplus.com.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
25 minutes after 9 o'clock. I'll get to your calls in a moment and your WhatsApps. I want to bring in Orin Singh now, who's our EWN reporter, just to lay the foundation, because some of you may not be aware of what we have uncovered so far or what's been revealed so far at the Madlanga Commission around some of these senior cops that are still at work as we speak. So Oren Singh has been at the commission and looking at evidence that's coming from these, especially these detectives that have been testifying over the last week or so. Oren, thank you so much for coming through. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Let's start with maybe the head of the Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal. What's been revealed so far about him and the links that he has to these people that the police believe are part of the criminal syndicate?
Startling revelations coming out against the head of the Hawks. in KwaZulu-Natal, etc., Sinona. We heard initially from the likes of Lieutenant General Sanhlam Kunazi, KZN Police Boss, and the Head of Crime Intelligence, Dumisani Kumalo, when they testified earlier in the year, Clement, at the Madlanga Commission, that there were links between Lesetja Sinona, but more specifically Sinona's son, Tato, who had links to Vuzi Muzi Kat Matlala, and that Tato Sinona and Kat Matlala had some sort of business relations related to a company that is under Tato Sinona's name. And we further saw evidence in the form of WhatsApp messages between Vuzi Muzi Kat Matlala and Lesetja Sinona, talking about this 360 million rand police contract, where Vuzi Muzi Matlala was complaining to Sinona.
Oh, Oren, the line is not good at all. I'm putting you back to the producers. Let's try and get you on a different line. Hopefully that'll be much better. But Oren was telling us there about the relationship that General Sinona had with Kat Matlala. It's really concerning. It's really concerning. And that just goes to show how these guys are actually connected. They really are. I mean, how they are protected. The business people, that is. Dad on the WhatsApp line says, "Hi Clement, it's very concerned. What's very concerning is that Kat Matlala wrote an affidavit which was allegedly prepared by General Sibia, and the very Kat again wrote an affidavit which was allegedly solicited by the police minister's lawyers." Yes, that's what Becky Kele said. In fact, at the parliamentary inquiry, Becky Kele said, when he met with Kat Matlala told him that, hey, there's a war happening here and I'm getting involved in it. Kat Matlala told Becky Kele that General Sibia has actually written an affidavit for him, and General Sibia wants that affidavit to be disposed to the police, as if it is Kat Matlala's, which is why there was a mention of Rolex being stolen. And Becky Kele, I think last week, was saying that's not even true. There was no Rolex that was stolen by the political killing task team detectives or police officers. But it was all because General Sibia wanted to see General Kumalo, Dumisani Kumalo, somehow arrested or charged. That's how bad it was. That's how these guys have been trying to fight each other. And General Kumalo ended up being arrested. And whether that is because there is actual evidence, I hope the IDEC, when they come to the Madlanga Commission, they can share that with us. Or if it's all part of these factional fights, we just don't know at this point. And that probably, and I hope, will be revealed very soon. So I'll get Oren Singh back after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. We'll start again. I'll get him to start with that Hawk's Head. Just listen carefully to what he tells you about even the conversation between the Hawk's Head in KwaZulu-Natal and Kat Matlala. The conversation that they had on WhatsApp. It's quite shocking. And then you've got other district commissioners, senior cops. As soon as Katiso Molefe is arrested, they want to run over to, in fact, some of them were busy calling the detectives and said, these are senior cops. They're calling the police officers and saying, do you guys know how dangerous the person you guys have arrested is? Really? Is that what should concern you as a top cop? When someone is accused of such serious crimes and they get arrested, you are calling the people investigating him and you're saying, you know how dangerous that person is. He's close to the generals. Yeah, the rot is far deeper, my friends. The question I'm asking, though, is should we wait for the end of the commission before these guys can even be placed on suspension, or they can be told to go stay at home? Because I worry that they're going to use the resources they have in the SAPS to go after the people who have investigated and have exposed them. That's what I'm worried about. I worry that we may end up with some of these guys being killed who are investigating. Because these guys are still in the police service. But the evidence we've had so far is concerning and I think deserves to be acted on as soon as possible. Otherwise, we may just regret it soon. Keeping them at work like that, as if there's nothing we've uncovered. It's 9:31. Sister, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. Parliament's International Relations Committee has welcomed the Justice Minister's withdrawal of permission to serve legal papers on the United Nations Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese. Albanese is currently in Cape Town and is expected to address Parliament's Portfolio Committee tomorrow, and that's before virtually delivering her latest report on the United Nations, in which she will address the complicity of states in fueling Israel's war on Gaza. The High Court in Johannesburg is set to deliver judgment on bail for alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Ket Matlala this morning. Matlala escalated his bid for bail to the High Court last week after it was denied by the Alexandra Magistrates Court. He is accused of orchestrating a hit on his ex-girlfriend, socialite and actress Tebogo Tobejane in 2023. And President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is dealing with corruption after admitting on a global stage that the issue has had damaging effects on the country. Ramaphosa was speaking in Malaysia at an investment summit over the weekend. This is part of Ramaphosa's latest appeal to investors in Asia as South Africa looks to diversify its trade partners amid a global trade shakeup. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 10 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
That's queuing traffic on the R21 North. This is in the Tembisa area between the R25 and Olifantsfontein Road. This is due to roadworks that are taking place along this route, causing these heavy traffic volumes. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in Boksburg, we've got more delays between the Berry and Carnival City entrance. This is also because of roadworks that are causing these delays, so please be on the lookout there. While traveling on the N3 North, bumper to bumper traffic between the Vincent Chabalala Road exit and the Baklu interchange due to more roadworks there, as well as an accident reported just before the Baklu turn off. Please be on the lookout and continue driving with care. Traffic lights are still out of order in Rand Park Ridge at the N1 North and Beyers Nadia Drive, as well as in Edenville at Van Riebeck Road and Edenville Road. Please be on the lookout there and continue driving with care. More updates coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Are you ready to be inspired and grow your business? The South African Future Trust Summits, in partnership with Standard Bank and 702, returns to the Sandton Convention Centre on 5 and 6 November. Gain insights from international and local speakers. Connect with entrepreneurs and investors and come and pitch your business idea or come and buy a business in a box. Tickets are limited and selling fast. Grab yours now at summit.southafricanfuturetrust.org.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
So, South Africa is off the Financial Action Task Force grey list. For 2 years, we've been under the microscope. Now the FATF says we have cleaned up our act.
It doesn't mean we've solved all our problems. All it means is that we've begun to deal with our problems, and we're going to have to continue to strengthen our institutions so that when the next mutual evaluation comes, that we will not be grey listed again.
The National Treasury's Ismail Momo Niat.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025. The insights to guide you through Africa's financial landscapes are waiting for you. ABSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
25 minutes before 10 o'clock. We're taking your calls on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. We've got Oren Singh back with us, our EWN reporter who has been at the Madlanga Commission. Oren, we've got you on a much, much better line now. You were still explaining to us what we have uncovered or the evidence that has been presented at the Madlanga Commission around the link between the head of the Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal and people like Ket Matlala.
Yes, good morning, Clement. Well, I think the name of KZN Hawks boss Lesetja Senona was first raised by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhonazi and the Head of Crime Intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, when they testified before the commission some weeks back. And essentially, they presented evidence showing WhatsApp exchanges or suggesting that there was evidence of WhatsApp exchanges between Senona and Vusi Musi Matlala. Last week, when we saw these detectives attached to the counterintelligence Gauteng operations unit testify in camera before the commission, witness A, B, and C, they went a little bit into more detail around these messages between Senona and Matlala. Essentially, we saw WhatsApp exchanges between the pair that related to business dealings with Senona's son, Tato Senona. From what the evidence has been presented at the commission, it's alleged that Tato Senona and Vusi Musi Matlala had some sort of business relationship in terms of the entities that they're directors of. And that the allegations suggest that Lesetja Senona has been protecting Vusi Musi Matlala in order to ensure that his son and Vusi have these business relationships that are uninterrupted. But I think the one thing that came out that was quite scary or quite damning against Lesetja Senona, Clement, is the fact that when Vusi Musi Matlala started receiving information that his SAPS tender, this 360 million rand SAPS tender, was coming under some sort of scrutiny, he had spoken or messaged Senona regarding this, and Senona told him, "Take them on, my brother," suggesting that he should go after the people that are trying to scrutinize this tender and this contract. Remember, the instruction for this contract to be cancelled was given by the police minister, Senzo Mchunu. He instructed police top brass to look into the contract. But it's also important to remember who was sitting on that contract and had essentially been part of the process for its awarding, and that would have been the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimola. He would have been well aware that this contract was awarded to Vusi Musi Matlala, possibly not around the details of the contract itself, but he would have been aware that it was. And it was only until Senzo Mchunu issued an instruction for it to be investigated that it was. So Lesetja Senona's name has come out quite strongly. There was also allegations last week that he is the brother-in-law of Vusi Musi Matlala. But that they didn't go into more details around that to provide evidence to suggest that they are related.
Okay, and what about his son, the General Senona's son? Because it looks like, did he have any business dealings with Cat? What was the link there?
So we didn't see messages directly between Tato Senona and Vusi Musi Matlala, although they were suggested that there were messages. The messages that I can recall were presented between Lesetja Senona and Vusi Musi Matlala. But in those messages, there's reference to Tato quite strongly, and his business dealings and relationship with Vusi Musi Matlala. There was some sort of evidence presented, Clement, to suggest that this business or company that is registered to Tato Senona's name was receiving some sort of money from Vusi Musi Matlala. So there was a definite link between Lesetja Senona as the head of the Hawks in KZN and Vusi Musi Matlala, and definitely interests being protected to ensure that his son's business activities can continue.
Sure. And of course, I've seen some people have been trying to remember when drugs were stolen from the from the Hawks offices in KwaZulu-Natal, and some people have been assuming or even suggesting that may have something to do with these guys that are now behind bars, and of course the relationship that they have with the head of the Hawks there in Gauteng. Can you, if you remember those details, and I don't remember if it was Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi who mentioned it or if it's just been a matter of speculation, Oren, but was there any link made to the drugs that disappeared or were stolen from the head of the Hawks in Gauteng, and how that may be linked to these relationships that he has with these guys?
I think it was quite a big story when it initially broke in KwaZulu-Natal, Clement. I'd been working as a reporter down there and covered that story itself. From what I can remember, and I may have well missed it, due to stepping in and out of the commission to do crossings or to file copy. But from what I recall, I think that it was mentioned very briefly, but there's been more speculation around it. If those that need to be filled in, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was in 2020 or 2019, a large consignment of cocaine that was being held at the Hawks' offices in Port Shepstone, which is south of Durban. About 600 kilograms of cocaine was being held at their walk-in safe. And it emerged that someone had broken in to Hawks' office and stolen this consignment of drugs. But Clement, it would have been very difficult, from what the Hawks told us at the time, that they had broken a small window, gained access to the walk-in safe, and then started piling these drugs out of the window into whatever transport they were using. It would have been very difficult to do that. You can't tell me their offices itself is in quite a built-up area. There's businesses around it with CCTV camera. We tried to get access to some CCTV camera, but due to the sensitivity of the case, some businesses weren't willing to comply. But we had received a tip-off from an attorney at the time to say that, look, you guys need to question the Hawks about this. 600 kgs of cocaine can't just go missing or be stolen from their walk-in safe at their offices. So I think there was a lot of speculation around that. And I think it goes higher than just Lesetja Sinona, because, I mean, at the time, Clement, Lieutenant General Godfrey Libia was the head of the Hawks. And you can't tell me that he wasn't privy to what may have happened around those drugs. I had questioned him personally about what's going on into that investigation of that consignment that was being held at your offices in Port Shepstone, to which he would often tell me that is still under investigation. That is still under investigation. But for 600 kilograms of cocaine to go missing from an office would beg a lot of questions.
And not just any office,
gotten
like the Hawks offices?
The Hawks offices. And I mean, it's a massive walk-in safe, Clement. It's not a tiny little safe. This is where they store drugs, where they store weapons and firearms, what police would refer to as an SAP-13 storeroom. And I believe, personally, someone walked in, there was an agreement, they loaded up all that cocaine, possibly the person who owned the drugs. And there was some sort of deal, maybe a cut, because that does not make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense.
And I don't think it makes sense to a lot of South Africans.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make sense at all. And now we're finding out that the head of the Hawks has had these conversations with someone like Ket Matlala and has had relations with them that may go beyond just them being acquaintances. What does that tell us? All right, let's move to the next top cob, the head of organized crime. What have we heard from the detectives around his behavior, the head of organized crime? Because it seems like he wasn't happy about the arrest of Katie Molefe.
It was a bit difficult to understand in the beginning when witness A, B, and C began testifying early last week, Clement, because on the first day when witness A testified, and this is a detective from the Gauteng Counterintelligence Operations Team, he didn't quite clearly suggest that there was something untoward the head of organized crime, Richard Shibiri. What we heard from all three detectives last week was that they were constantly being called by the head of organized crime, Richard Shibiri, to be briefed on this case of Katiso Katie Molefe. And the arrests that had been taking place when they arrested him on the 6th of December last year, but prior to that, they had arrested a number of individuals in connection with the murder of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. And it seemed like Shibiri wanted to be briefed constantly on the matter, to an extent that the detectives began feeling uncomfortable, because in one instance, he calls them into his office at Pretoria, and he tells them that, look, I'm aware that there are 3 envelopes floating around, one for the investigating officers, one for the prosecutor, and one for the magistrate, to allow the accused that have been arrested in the Armand Swart murder to be granted bail. And he suggested, it came out later, that it was to the tune of millions of rands. And the investigating officers were taken aback by this, because you're the head of organized crime telling us that you're aware that there's bribe money possibly floating around. So they asked him, what should we do about this? And he says, no, an inquiry should be opened. But when they left the meeting, they're like, but wait, why should we open the inquiry when you've just informed us about these possible bribes, we're not aware of it. You brought it to our attention. You're the head of organized crime. You should open this inquiry. And an inquiry was never opened. But I think what's more worrying is later we saw messages towards the end of last week with bank confirmation notes between Vusi Musi Kat Matlala and General Richard Shibiri, suggesting that there was payments between the pair. At one stage, Vusi Musi Kat Matlala asked him for a bank confirmation letter. He sends a proof of bank confirmation letter, an APSA one, obviously all the details retracted. And money is then allegedly paid into that account. Whose account that belongs to is unclear, whether it's Richard Shibiri or not. But again, this is the head of organized crime communicating with people that are being investigated. And at that stage, Vusi Musi Kat Matlala was being investigated. And you can't tell me you're the head of organized crime, you don't know this. But it suggests that your intentions are to protect certain individuals who are coming under fire.
This is so depressing. Head of organized crime. Like, okay, let's move to I think Nkwashu, if I'm getting his name right. Is this the district commissioner from? Is it Ferrenacheng or the Val, who went to visit Katie Molefe to bring him clothes and some food, and he clearly didn't want to be detected when he went to visit him to prison, because he wanted to go not during the visiting hours, and he arrived there with a car that didn't even have a number plate.
Definitely, there were intentions for him not to be recognized or his identity to be concealed to some extent, Clement. This was the then acting district commissioner for Sedibeng district, Brigadier Mbangwa Nkwashu. And his name featured quite early last week, where he called the investigating officer in Arman Swat case, witness B, and told her that, look, I've been informed by the Provincial Commissioner of Gauteng, Tommy Mtombeni, that I need to collect all the dockets related to the Arman Swat murder. And bearing in mind that one of the alleged masterminds within that murder case was Katiso Katie Molefe. And the detective said that, look, I don't have the dockets in my possession. They were the director of public prosecutions. To which the Brigadier Nkwashu then says, okay, send me an email to that effect. But after he cuts the call with her, he calls her back, obviously now stressing, and says, oh, okay, no, don't worry about it. I actually don't need those dockets. You keep them with you. So it didn't make sense. You're telling us you've been instructed by the provincial commissioner to get the dockets, and then when the detective says she doesn't have them, oh, quickly, you don't need them anymore. And it's also important to note that Tommy Mtombeni's office never directly communicated with the investigating officer in the Swat murder case to say, I need those dockets. So that's when we first heard about Nkwashu, and then later we hear that he goes to visit Katiso Katie Molefe at Groenpunt Correctional Center, a maximum security center where he's being held after he was arrested. And he takes some clothes, he puts on a fake number plate on his vehicle so he's not recognized. And this is an acting district commissioner. He tells the prison officials that I am Molefe's brother-in-law to get access to the prison. But obviously, given who he is, he may have had some pull and been able to pull some strings to get access to this inmate, because it didn't emerge that they had any sort of family links. They're not related in any way whatsoever. But it just raises questions. You're a whole district commissioner. You're going to visit a person who's been arrested with strong links, allegedly, to a murder. And you're later linked to 3 other murders, and that of DJ Sambodi and DJ Vintos as well. And you're going to visit this person at prison, knowing full well that there are cameras around that are going to pick you up. And you even took the decision that I'm going to make take some means to ensure that my identity can be concealed to some extent. I'll wear a cap. I'll make sure my license plate is not the correct one. So very concerning stuff regarding Brigadier Nkwashu, without a doubt.
Have I left anyone else here in terms of, because I did include Tau. Tau is, of course, the former SAPS employee, but he has since been, was he fired, or I think he's resigned from the SAPS as soon as they arrested him in connection with the murder of that engineer. I think I've covered everybody here. Am I forgetting anyone, Oren? Like senior cops that are still in the job right now who have been implicated by these detectives?
No, I think we've covered everyone that's of relevance in recent. Obviously, the names of Lieutenant General Shadrach Sabia has frequently popped up, as well as Senzo Mkunu, but that's everyone that we've covered in the past, Clement. So I think these three officers that have recently been referred to are obviously of importance at this present moment.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Oren, you won't believe this. You know, I even got a message now on the WhatsApp line. From someone who's telling us about the relation, how they know Nkwashu. I won't read this message because the person says, please do not read it. But basically what I'm saying here is they're telling us that they know him and they know him very closely. And this is someone who actually just loves money and a fleshy lifestyle. Thank you for coming through, Oren Singh. Here's the thing. The question I'm asking you is, based on what you've just heard Oren Singh tell you about the involvement of these senior cops. Guys, these are not just like some senior detective. This is the head of the Hawks in KZN who has a relationship with Ket Matlala. By the way, breaking news is that Ket Matlala is going to stay behind bars because he appealed to the High Court when he was denied bail. So the High Court has now basically upheld the decision of the lower courts. He's going to stay in jail. This guy was busy talking to the Hawks head in KZN. They were so close. Remember, there was that cocaine, 600 kg of cocaine that was stolen from the Hawks offices. Whatever happened to that? Everybody was just shocked. Who goes and steals cocaine from the Hawks offices that was confiscated? And we still know nothing about it. And now you hear about the relationship that the head of the Hawks in KZN has with these guys that are accused of being in drug cartels. You had a head of organized crime sending bank letters to prove his account to people like Ket Matlala. You've got a district commissioner in Sidibeng who is busy taking food and concealing his identity just so he can go speak to KT Molefe when he was arrested. These are senior cops. So the question I'm asking you is, why should they be in the service right now as we speak? I'm not saying fire them. I'm saying I'm concerned that they're going to use the resources they have currently in the SAPS to go after the people who are exposing them. So why are they not being placed on some special leave of sorts? Fine, keep paying them if you have to. But push them away out of work so that they don't use their resources at work to go after the people who are exposing them or to try and conceal information and interfere with investigations. I'm concerned. I thought that the corruption is probably at constable detectives levels. It goes up. It really does. Remember the guy who was protected by the SAPS in the Northwest? That kingpin. Kimang, that king. Who's that? Tiger. Remember Tiger? The Zamazama kingpin. Tiger, we still don't know where Tiger is now. This is a kingpin of Zamazamas that police knew they needed to arrest him. They put him in a comfortable car and drove him away. Everybody else was arrested but the kingpin. The police have since arrested some SAPS officers. Are you really convinced that there's no senior cop, knowing what you know now, who was involved in the release of that man, who's probably sitting on a beach somewhere enjoying cocktails because they knew a powerful cop? We're in trouble, I'm telling you. It's 5 minutes before 10.
702. Serving the 702 family in 702 land, including those of you in Vereeniging. Vereeniging is situated on the banks of the Vaal River and is one of our most important industrial manufacturing centers in the country. Chief products include iron, steel, bricks, tiles, and lime. Several coal mines in the area supply coal to nearby Eskom power stations. An historic treaty was signed in Vereeniging in 1902, ending the South African War between the Boer republics and the then British Empire. 702. Let's walk the talk across 702 land, including Vereeniging.
Don't let high business insurance premiums drain your cash flow. Switch to Outsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your premium. For plumbing, electrical, tradesmen services and other industries, Outsurance Business Insurance are trusted experts in insuring your business. It's time to get more out of your business insurance. Get a quick and easy quote today. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's and information online.
Life can sometimes throw dumb inconveniences your way. Just listen.
My toddler had a meltdown at 11 p.m. because we didn't have any yogurt.
At least baby quart doesn't exist. Yet.
I saved some snacks. Next thing, gone. And it's 9 p.m.
Fire your entire household, Jabu.
I went to shower and there was no soap left.
That's awkward. Don't allow life to inconvenience you. Come around to NJET. We're open 24/7. Quick Shop & Co. At your convenience. NJET. With us, you are number one.
When you have looked cancer in the eye, you see the world differently. This Thursday on the afternoon drive with John Pellman, we'll hear how breast cancer survivor and head of outreach at Holy Rosary School, Yvette Bibis, is turning her journey into purpose, helping to raise awareness about the importance of sight and access to reading glasses for those who need them most. It's a powerful story shared in partnership with the Discam Foundation, because caring for the community starts with seeing its needs clearly. Remember, every swipe of your Discam Better Rewards card supports this and other amazing initiatives across the country. The Discam Foundation, caring for the community. Every swipe counts. On 702.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
3 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Hi, Clement. Tronipo here in Don Park. Look, Clement, why people are not arrested, it just beats me. You know, people must be arrested. Case closed. You know, this thing of that, there's evidence. Day in, day out on Madlanga Commission, we see evidence. Every day there's new evidence that is being brought up. In the case of the property was seized there at Hangwane Maumela. Why there is no one arrested when this property that is being seized, you know, out of criminal gains? And then why are not people arrested? I don't understand. Thank you, Clement.
Good morning, Clement. I had wished that you might have mentioned this KT Molefi's lieutenant, the police officer, Tau. I was just talking to some guy out here during the weekend in Soweto, who feels deeply hurt that Tau this policeman Tau killed a guy right here in Tladi. It's so sad out here. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Clement. This is Sally here. I'm wondering, why are the banks doing nothing when they see big sums of money moving in and out of accounts of people? I'm a teacher, right, in a foreign institution. I'm a lecturer. The amount I get paid are small, and each time I have to go through all sorts of documentation to justify these funds. But these guys are moving millions and millions, and they don't seem to be worried by banks asking them difficult questions. What is going on?
Yeah, look, what we'll do after 10 o'clock is continue with your calls and your WhatsApps, because I took most of the time chatting to Oren to lay that foundation. So more of your calls and WhatsApps after the news.
Let's count backward. 5, insurance. 4, pineapple. 3, insurance. 2, pineapple. 1, you're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Don't just hear the roar, feel it live. DP World Lions are unleashing their legacy of champions in the explosive T20 Challenge. The pride of Jozi, the Lions are ready to pounce on Boland in their season opener at the DP World Wanderers Stadium, Sunday the 2nd of November at 2 p.m. Feel the thrill of smashing sixes, stunning catches, and nail-biting finishes. Get your tickets today at Ticket Pro or visit DP World Lions website. Don't miss the action. Be part of the legacy.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. We start with news just in. Alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Matlala has failed in his latest bid to be granted bail. The Johannesburg High Court denied him bail a short while ago, saying his release would not be in the interest of justice. Matlala approached the High Court last week after he was denied bail by the Alexandra Magistrates Court. He is accused of calling a hit on his socialite girlfriend, actress Tebogo Tobejane, in 2023. Parliament's International Relations Committee has welcomed the Justice Minister's withdrawal of permission to serve legal papers to the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Palestinian-occupied territories, Francesca Albanese. Albanese is currently in Cape Town and is expected to address Parliament's Portfolio Committee tomorrow before virtually delivering her latest report to the United Nations, in which she will address the complicity of states in fueling Israel's war on Gaza. The two base lobby groups, through a court sheriff, attempted to serve Albanese in Johannesburg on Saturday after she delivered the Nelson Mandela annual lecture. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
The work of Francesca Albanese has made her an enemy of those who advocate for Israel's right to wage a war on Gaza. The Italian human rights lawyer is facing a defamation suit from the Christian Friends of Israeli Communities and Christians for Israel USA, whose attorneys applied through the Justice Department to serve her with legal papers for a defamation suit they have launched against her in the United States. But Justice Minister Mameloko Kubai yesterday hastily sought to defuse a potential diplomatic debacle, saying she did not approve an application to serve Albanese and retracted the permission ostensibly granted by a Justice Ministry official who's now facing disciplinary consequences. Albanese addressed Cape Townians at a packed Grote Kerk in Cape Town yesterday, praising South Africa for its genocide case against Israel in the International Court of Justice. Tomorrow, she will use the Desmond and Leia Tutu Legacy Foundation as her base to speak directly to the United Nations on her latest findings, as she's banned from entering the United States. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Some property law experts believe the city of Ekurhuleni has no leg to stand on in a dispute over the compensation of privately owned land on the East Rand. The metro is set to square off against Business Venture Investment 900 in court this week over Ekurhuleni's 2019 decision to expropriate the company's property without compensation. The company says it isn't opposed to the expropriation itself, but disputes the city's decision to offer no compensation. Alfara Mushwana has the story.
It's been 6 years since the city of Ekurhuleni issued Business Venture Investments 900 with a notice of expropriation for their 34-hectare land. Internal documents revealed that the city justified its offer of zero compensation on the grounds that the land has not generated any economic activity. But some experts believe that the city's decision not to pay for the property may have been an overreach. Property law lecturer at Stellenbosch University, Tanfir Jiwa.
The city did not interpret the law correctly. As it stands, the Expropriation Act of 2024 is not currently operational. Regardless of the fact that you are expropriating land under the National Housing Act, you still need the Expropriation Act to calculate the compensation.
Section 25 of the Constitution states that compensation for expropriation must be just and equitable, taking into account the property's market value as well as the reason for expropriation. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is dealing with corruption after admitting on a global stage that the issue has had damaging effects on the country. Ramaphosa was speaking at a business and investment summit in Malaysia over the weekend. This is part of Ramaphosa's latest appeal to investors in Asia as South Africa looks to diversify its trade partners amid a global trade shakeup. He says corruption, unemployment, inefficient infrastructure and poor governance are among major challenges being addressed.
Corruption is rife, not only in government, but also in the private sector. So we're dealing with that, and we're dealing with criminality and enforcing the rule of law.
He has also said the country is showing up in positive improvements, making it a viable destination for Asian investors.
Our economy is going to start turning around. In fact, it is turning around. Our state-owned enterprises are also being reformed. So we are on a good path going forward and rebuilding South Africa and delivering a South Africa that many countries can deal with.
Gold is trading at $4,072.35 an ounce. The rand is at 17.22 to the dollar, 22.93 to the pound, 20.01 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.21 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the R21 North. This is between the R25 and Olifantsfontein Road, and that's due to the roadworks that are taking place along the street. About a 20-minute hold up at this particular moment. If you're heading towards the city of Tshwane, please use the N1 North through Midrand instead. While traveling on the N3 North, we still have got bumper-to-bumper delays between Marlborough Drive and the Baku interchange due to roadworks.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with scattered isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 27 and 29 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Ketmatlala has failed in his latest bid to be granted bail.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 10 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the second hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702, and thank you for your contributions on the 702 open line. And I want to continue with those contributions because we didn't have enough time in the previous hour. I wanted Oren Singh, our EWN reporter, to just lay the foundation and help you understand why this is a problem. That we've got such senior officers who are involved with these guys that are in jail facing very, 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 very serious charges. I mean, it's very questionable. And the fact that these people are still at work concerns me. Because what are they doing to try and put up a defense or put up a fight? How are they going to work with the people who are exposing their dealings with these alleged criminals? And I worry that we are probably waiting for something drastic to happen. I don't know, one of the detectives to die before there can be some urgency in how the police can deal with what has been revealed so far about these guys. And I'm not suggesting that just, fire people without following due process, or like you don't have to care what the law says, just get rid of them because of the allegations there. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying we need to have due consideration around the role of these people in the criminal justice system and what them staying in office actually means, and what risk are we willing to take for the protection of this criminal justice system, but also for the protection of the people who are exposing these guys. Are we waiting for these guys to be killed? Are we waiting for their family members to be targeted before action can be taken? Is it possible perhaps to err and be cautious, to err on the side of caution and say, okay, let's ask these people to stay at home because what's being revealed so far is so drastic and so hectic. And yes, we may not have concrete charges for now, but so far what's been revealed is concerning. I mean, Shadrach Sibia was suspended by the National Police Commissioner And yeah, maybe the argument there is that the suspension was more to do with the political killing stars team, but that's still questionable because that's not a decision that was taken a month ago or 2 months ago. So Fanima Semola, really, if he was serious about going after Shadrach Sibia for the political killing stars team, surely that would have happened a long time ago. Wouldn't it have? There are a number of senior cops who are currently at work right now as we speak. The head of organized crime, the Sidibeng District Commissioner, the head of the Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal. They have been implicated in like shocking stuff. And they're still at work as we speak. Ket Matlala has just been denied bail again in the High Court because that's where he had escalated and appealed the matter to. But Katiso Molefe is released. Katiso Molefe is the same person that the detectives told us that he went and took Mr. Tau. Tau is a former cop who was working with Katiso Molefe. Police have evidence of Tau driving to Molefe's house, and then they go to Vereeniging because they were scouting for a whistleblower who was revealing that Tau's nephew was busy charging Transnet 149 rand or something for springs that actually cost much, much, much less, like 39 rands or something. And you're charging 159 rand for that spring. They went and they found a whistleblower, and that whistleblower was killed. Tau is now facing the charges of murder for this Aman Swart chap. And we're told that that was even a mistaken identity because that's actually not the whistleblower who exposed it all. Yeah, I'm just so scared that we live in a country where even the top cops who appear to you as if they care about justice, they're doing their work, but behind the scenes, they're having conversations with alleged criminals, people who are linked to serious murders. And we are comfortable with those people continuing in office now. Let's go to your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. We've got Tinta as well who's calling us. Let me take Tinta quickly and then I'll go to your WhatsApps. Tinta, you're calling us from Mayerton. Good morning.
Matamela, good morning. Must do exactly what FW de Klerk did in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
During the late 80s and the early 90s, there were generals in the SANDF that tried to stop the reforms that were looming. And he appointed General Stein to investigate, and because of that investigation, FW de Klerk, he retired 6 generals along with 17 other senior officers in the involvement of what was called dirty tricks. So this is exactly what Umatamela should do now with these generals that and top other senior officials.
Yeah.
Please research this. It was dubbed the Night of the Generals because of the dirty tricks in 1992. That's when the Klerk, he took the decision in 1992 and he retired many senior officers in the SANDF.
I'll check it out, Tinta. I suppose the question is, when should the president do that? Because the president is probably waiting for the Madlanga Commission to advise him on what to do. But my worry, Tinta, is that Madlanga Commission won't be done until probably after about a year or 9 months. So what happens in the 9 months? Because these guys are powerful in the corps. I mean, these are top cops. They can use the resources that they have, the state resources, to either conceal evidence or to go after the people who are exposing them. So, I mean, some of them are involved in protecting the guys who have murdered people. So what makes us think between now and the time when the Madlanga Commission comes up with its final report, these guys, we've just lost Tinta now. These guys wouldn't have done anything. And that's my worry. Knowing what we know now, what intervention do you think is needed? Because yes, we still need to protect these guys and their rights. And you don't just want to hear an accusation. And we're not just talking accusations here, guys. They are text messages. There are text messages that you can see. This is what they were communicating with each other. These are the bank letters they're sending with each other. These are the flats that are being purchased. These are the transactions that we're seeing. There's evidence of that. And yet, they're still at work. There are cops out there who have to report to these people and still respect them as the men of authority that they are supposed to be. With all that we know, with all the lengths they have taken to seemingly protect their friends, that the police are investigating, their own colleagues are investigating for very, very serious crimes. 072 702 1702 for your WhatsApps.
Good morning, Clement. This is John from Springs. I think that since a General Sibia was put on suspension, so same thing must happen to these senior police officials who are colluding with these criminals. And also, as for Katiso Molefe, he's very, very dangerous to these investigators. I don't know why he was released on bail. Thank you.
And
Hi, Claire.
By the way, remember when Fanima Samola suspended Shadrach Sibia? I mean, the question was, why is he preempting the Madlanga Commission? Because the president said Madlanga Commission must be the ones that decide who must be suspended, who mustn't, who must be placed on special leave. And I think what the president was trying to do is to avoid a scenario where these top cops fight each other and they start firing each other. I think that's what the president was trying to avoid. So he's trying to say, yes, as a national commissioner, it's within your right to take action against the deputy commissioner. But let's actually let the commission investigate and then they can take it from there. But the Fanima Samula has suspended Shadrach Sibia. But there are other people here now. What happens to them? Because Fanima Samula didn't do anything wrong legally. He's still legally obligated to oversee the SAPS and he can take a decision against these deputy commissioners, which is fine, sure. But what's being done about some of these cops that are being mentioned whose role is so concerning? Do we just move on, let it be? Some of them are accused of protecting criminals who had murdered even the SAPS members. These detectives, witness A, B, C, who have been testified at the Madlanga Commission, they've tried to take them out too. The people that the police believe have tried to take out these detectives have been protected by top cops, according to the investigators. Those top cops are still at work.
Hi, Clement and the team. What worries me most is the influence these individuals has in the SAPS. Yes, we can remove them or replace them, but we won't remove them or replace them with their influence. Their influence will remain in a certain segment of the SAPS. If you manage to assess and analyze Begitele's testimony, you could analyze that he still have got some internal info in the SAPS, which means he still have got influence in the sector. Thanks, David.
Good morning, Clement. Tsapo here from Florida in Rodiport. My take on this is that, this historically has been happening, that police are in a relation with gangsters, but it was initially for intelligence purposes. But now it has turned out to be out of hand for benefits, for personal development, and selfishness. It's bad.
Yeah, the politicians are the one who are messing up our system, especially the police and the prosecutors and everything. These people are well connected with the politicians and even the campaigns of the ANC for whoever is going to be the president. They must unseal that Ramaphosa thing who supported him and see if Ket Matala and all of these other guys, gangs are not going to appear on that docket. Unseal that thing, Clement. You're going to be surprised.
Yeah, some people are sending messages on the WhatsApp line, some of which I cannot read, and I want to respect some people because I don't want to put other people's safety at risk, right? But I did receive some of the messages on the WhatsApp, some people who know these top cops, and they're telling me what they know about them. And I think what we can do maybe is just do background work behind the scenes. But it's really quite shocking how even people are just telling you that we're not shocked to hear what this and that cop are accused of because this is our experience with them. Those are some of the messages I'm getting. And look, we do get messages even on the WhatsApp line when you have conversations that are even helpful to us. I mean, the last time I interviewed, what's his name? Sedge Kabonge. We got an anonymous call from someone who said, by the way, I always see Sedge hanging out with Shadrach Sibiya at this and this and this hotel. And that's an information that was provided to us anonymously by a listener. And I did then immediately ask Sedge about that when the producers told me. And that's when Sedge Kabonge confirmed that he's actually close friends with Shadrach Sibiya. So I'm always so grateful when some of you who are close to these situations actually contact us to give us additional information, even if you can do that anonymously, because it actually helps us in trying to get to the truth. Now we know that Sedge Kabonge is close to Shadrach Sibiya. Who is Sedge Kabonge close to? Ket Matlala. Like, there's a whole web here. There's a connection that you see when you go to, okay, Shadrach close to Sedge. Sedge does business with Ket. Sedge was with Ket's ex-girlfriend before the attempted murder. Ket's ex-girlfriend says Sedge Kabonge actually is the one who provided information to Ket to say, this girl is on the way to this place. It's found. You can pounce on him. And the people tried to kill her. Why did they try to kill her? Because she says she knew that Ket is involved in Babita Diokoran's murder. It's so hectic. But you look at who is involved here. Who are the people being mentioned? Who's friends with who? And I wouldn't have known that Sedge Kabonge and Shadrach Sibiya are besties until we got an anonymous call. So thank you to some of you who always provide us with information, even if you do it anonymously, because that just helps us try get to the truth. Tulani, you're calling us from Centurion. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Hey, morning, Clem. I'm not sure if I heard you well when you said you think Masemola shouldn't have suspended Sibiya. He should have waited for the outcome of the Madlanga Commission. If that's what you said, I disagree with it, Clem, and I'll tell you why I disagree with that. I think these things can happen contemporaneously. Whilst the Madlanga Commission is happening, I think other actions do not necessarily have to be put on hold and wait for the outcomes thereof. I'll give you an example. Let's take one of the things that was said at the Madlanga Commission about some of the stuff that just came out there. Are you then suggesting that no arrests should be made in the meantime until the Madlanga Commission, for example, comes to an end and gives recommendations? I disagree with that. I'm one of the people that was even skeptical about putting a commission together, but at least now, because of the what's going on in the parliamentary committee and what is coming out, I think it was a good thing. But I disagree with the fact that things have to wait until that commission comes to an end and then action can be taken. I think they can happen contemporaneously. We can't, for example, wait. We can't, for example, wait and say no. We cannot act on that criminality that we've heard of in the Madlanga Commission and wait for its outcome. I think they can happen contemporaneously.
I agree with you, Tulani. So no, you heard me wrong. I'm not suggesting that we must wait for the Madlanga Commission. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying I'm uncomfortable with the idea that we have to wait for the end of the commission for us to start seeing action being taken. So even with Shadrach Sibiya's suspension, I was trying to explain that I think the reason the president placed that responsibility of suspensions on the commission is that he was trying to avoid a situation where people are going to fight each other. Shadrach Sibiya and Fanny Masemola don't already get along. Whether Shadrach Sibiya would be right to suspend, Fanny Masemola right to suspend Shadrach or not, that's beside the point, given that already they don't get along. So they're going after each other. So to avoid that, the president wanted maybe an independent institution that can guide that process. But Fanny Masemola didn't want to wait for that, which is fine because he's legally done what he's legally obligated and has the right to. Like, there's no question about that. What I'm saying is, why can't the same thing happen with these cops? Like, why are we not asking these cops, please stay at home? What we are finding out is actually quite hectic about your behavior. And these are not just mere detectives. The head of organized crime, the district commissioner in Sidibeng, these are like top cops. And I'm scared that the longer we wait and we say, let's just wait for the Madlanga to tell us what must happen to these guys, what are they planning now? That's what I'm scared of, because these guys they've been protecting are dangerous. They're accused of killing so many people. What are they planning now?
Absolutely, Clement. And I think the NPA really, I don't know what's happening there, man. The NPA is the one that should be acting on these things. I don't know whether they have too much cases, they are overloaded. I really do not understand, because these matters need to be brought to court by the NPA. Yes, the police would do the investigation, get the case to be court ready, obviously guided by the prosecutors. And then the prosecutors need to take the matters to court. But I really do not know what's happening with the NPA. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, Tulani. Yeah. NPA, eh? Don't get me started there. Anonymous says, Clement, what hurts the most is that there are juniors in the police who are instructed to do wrong things that the seniors instruct because they're fearing to lose their jobs. It hurts so much. That's a message there from Anonymous. Another person says, hi Clement, I believe that those that have been implicated in the Madlanga Commission must be charged and get arrested. The law must take its course. Nobody is above the law. That's a message from Miketi. The problem here is maybe sometimes you don't have a stronger case yet. Maybe the police do not have a stronger case yet to charge these people with, because what happens in court, maybe what they have is circumstantial evidence. But there's no core evidence that they are able to say. Because fine, what if Ket Matlala sent money to the head of organized crime, if that's the case? You don't know what that is for. The head of organized crimes could argue that, oh yeah, Ket borrowed me money, lent me this money because my child was at university and I know Ket from the community. I don't know. He could make any other argument. You still must be able to prove causality or a link between the money received and maybe criminal acts that were committed. And until you've got that, you can't just run to the NPA and say, just arrest or, prosecute these people. Or you tell the police to just arrest. It's more complicated than that. But I'm saying, given that all of us agree, all of us agree, including the president, that we are at a crossroad. We agree that there is a level of compromise at some point, especially within the SAPS. I think that calls on us to be extra cautious. These guys can't just be allowed to continue with their work. They can't just be allowed to continue with their work. I'm scared that they may be causing more harm. I'm scared that they may go after the people who are exposing their relations with these alleged criminals. I don't think we should wait for that. Tutu says, Clement, we have known that some of the senior officials are in the pockets of even Somalia's Spaza mafia. That's why nothing is happening to these Spaza shops who are operating illegally. That's Tutu in Dobsonville. Tutu, at this point, you think to yourself, maybe that now makes sense. Maybe it makes sense why there's no effective action that hasn't been taken for so long. Tiger is still nowhere to be found, guys. This is a criminal that the police helped escape. Police officers have helped a criminal escape. And we've just moved on as South Africa because the cops went and arrested 2 cops. I mean, really? They arrested, 2? Some of them were returned to work or whatever. And I'm still convinced to this day, like I said on that day, that someone higher up, someone very higher up, must have sanctioned that. It doesn't make sense to me that just junior cops or mid-senior cops just decided that, oh, here's a man, we're going to just release this man. I think, especially when there were cameras there. I mean, remember the story in the Northwest when those miners were coming out of the mine? It doesn't make sense to me. But we've moved on. But now with what we know about these cops that seemingly are compromised, what makes you think they would not create a pathway for a criminal like that to escape? Not even to escape, to be transported by the cops away from the other cops who wanted to arrest him. That's the mess that we're in this country. It's 10:31. So hi.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. A former preschool teacher found guilty of the rape and murder of her boyfriend's child is back in the Johannesburg High Court for sentencing proceedings. Amberly Hughes killed and sexually assaulted 4-year-old Nada Chalita in 2023. In August this year, the Johannesburg High Court found that Hughes planned to kill the little girl. Alleged crime boss Vusumuzi Matlala has failed in his latest bid to be granted bail. The High Court in Johannesburg denied him bail a short while ago, saying his release would not be in the interest of justice. Matlala approached the court last week after he was denied bail at the Alexandra Magistrates Court. And some property law experts believe the city of Ekurhuleni has no leg to stand on in a dispute over the compensation for privately owned land on the East Rand. The matter is set to square off against Business Venture Investment 900 in court this week over Ekurhuleni's 2019 decision to expropriate the company's property without compensation. And those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Traveling on the N17 West, we've got heavy traffic volumes. This is between the Carnival City entrance and Rondebolt Road. That's due to roadworks that are taking place along this route. And there's more roadworks on the R21 North. This is now in the Tembisa area, right near the Olifantsfontein Road turn off. Delays of about 30 minutes there, so please be on the lookout. Plan your trips ahead of time. At this particular moment, leaving Pimpton Park towards the city of Tshwane, because of these roadworks, could take you up to about 40 minutes, if not 45 minutes, while traveling on the N3 North. Bumper-to-bumper traffic between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Bakru interchange. That's due to roadworks along this route. You expect about a 15-minute hold-up there. We'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Kela Nova. Their General Manager and Executive Director, Philip Nieman, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. Join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
Calling all golf pros. Hollywood Bets invites you to step onto the green. Tee up, take a swing, and enjoy glorious golf action from electrifying competitions and thrilling live tournaments. Get ready to conquer the fairway and chase epic fortunes. Ready to master the odds and experience your crowning moment? Bet now on all the excitement and prepare to make your hole-in-one shot to sensational success. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Looking for real ways to live greener? Then don't miss Green Tip of the Week, your weekly dose of sustainable inspiration from eco-entrepreneurs to climate champions. We sit down with the people making real change. Catch Green Tip of the Week every Tuesday on Afternoon Drive with John Pellman, 3 to 6 p.m. only on 702. Proudly brought to you by Volvo. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702.
It's 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. We started a new series last week, which has been fascinating about South African wars. It's like a history lesson, and I love history, and I think all of us need to be interested in what has happened before our time here, because that helps us understand where we find ourselves. So we've been looking at South African wars. Last week we started with the First Boer War. So today we're discussing the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. This was one of the great 19th century battles that played out in what is today northern KwaZulu-Natal province, when you had British forces invading Zululand. They wanted to subjugate the kingdom, at the time ruled by King Cetshwayo. While it was relatively short-lived, this Anglo-Zulu War of 1879 has been the subject of numerous historical studies. I mean, how many films have we seen? Works of fiction, international films. And today, that war is actually considered one of Britain's worst colonial defeats. So that's what we're looking at today with Shalom Bata, who is the author and Royal Zulu historian, who is joining us via Zoom. And if you've got your own questions around the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879, please bring them up on 011-883-0702. Or maybe you want to share an interesting thing that piqued your interest, or something fascinating that you understand about this Anglo-Zulu War. Why don't you send us a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Shalom Bata joins us now on the line. Good morning. Thank you for making time for us.
Hey, Clement, thank you so much. I'd really like to thank 702 for keeping the memories of our gallant ancestors, alive by talking about their heroic deeds back in those ugly days. And before we continue, Clement, allow me to greet and acknowledge His Majesty King Mrs. Zulu, the royal family, Amabutho, Izinduna, and the whole Zulu nation, as well as South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shala. So let's start with what Zululand actually looked like before the Anglo-Zulu War. Just politically, economically, socially, what was the setup?
Okay. I'm glad that you called it the Anglo-Zulu War. We need to put some certain things into perspective, Clement. You know how they say history is written by the victors? The Anglo-Zulu War's proper name is Isandlwana War, because the Zulu were victorious. Think about it. Nobody ever talks about the Gettysburg battles, remember, in America. They don't call it the Anglo-American War, so they call it the Gettysburg battle. So before we go ahead, it is Isandlwana War. Before our lives were brutally disrupted by colonialists, Zululand was a structured kingdom, politically centralized under a monarch, and it was arranged or organized, if you like, by Amabutho, who were also the labor force, defense force, and the protectors of the weak and the elderly, And also economically, the cattle were the currency, which linked your status, your marriage, and diplomacy, which, when you wanted to get in touch with other kingdoms, you swapped cattle, And also, it was a very disciplined, spiritual, and self-reliant society. That's what they disturbed.
So what were some of the tensions then between the Zulu kingdom and the British Empire prior to the war? Because at some point there were even, ultimatums that they issued to the king.
The British had come to South Africa during King Shaka's time in 1828. So by 1879, they were already starting to, how can I put this, to perfect the system of oppression of the Zulu people and all African people on the eastern seaboard of South Africa. And so they were encroaching. Think of 1828 up to, if you like, 1879. Mm-hmm. There had been a kingdom that King Shaka started, which had put into place in 60 years before. So by 1879, King Cetshwayo was on the throne, and that already understood how the invaders were behaving. So King Cetshwayo, which had never actually stopped from King Shaka's time, that organized themselves into regiments and into very, very big divisions, military divisions. And they were prepared for the big war that, if you like, King Shaka had prepared for. So when the white people, which I'll call it the post, they were not only the British, they had the Germans, they had the Russians, and the Polish, who all, when they came to invade Zululand in 1879, there were actually 6 nations, okay, that came to disrupt or to come and try and take the land of the Zulu in 1879. One of the tensions was the British had decided that the Zulu were too organized in their lifestyles. And whenever you try to negotiate with them, they'd always out-negotiate you. So they started making up things like the Zulu had killed some Christians, that King Cetshwayo had invaded their land, as if white people, when they got off the ships, they came land with them. They started calling our country or our land, our continent, theirs. And I just stick to the thing of the Christianity. One of the top generals in the Zulu Empire, his 5 wives had converted to Christianity, and their husband was not happy. When he told them that they have to pay the ultimate price, because you cannot join another god, when, as far as the Zulus were concerned, King Cetshwayo was God on this planet, they ran away to find refuge under a white settlement. And fast forward, one of the things that they accused King Cetshwayo for was that he was responsible for the death of those women. And when he tried to explain to them that, no, actually, I don't know what you're talking about, let me investigate, they then gave him an ultimatum. And as I explained much of all this information in detail in my book, they then called them next to Mandeni, some river there, under a tree, which we still call the ultimatum tree. Then they gave the Zulu ultimatum for, I think it was about 10 days, and said, if you do not do the following, one of them was that returning those women, they also claimed that the Zulu had stolen some cows. If you don't do that, you have declared war against the British Empire. So King Cetshwayo, when he got the ultimatum, he called all his divisions, he called his generals, and he said, guys, this is what we're looking at. And they said, Zulus have never lived under threats and will not let anyone threaten us. If war they want, war they will get. And it broke the back of the negotiations. And then 10 days later, the British started moving towards Zululand, and the Zulu regiments were ready for them. And then they met under the small little mountain. It was actually a hill, Isandlwana. That's where the first contact happened.
Yeah. Let's talk more about that and what the approach of the Zulu regiments and also the British military, what was their approach like to the battle? Because the Battle of Isandlwana, probably the most comprehensive defeat of a British army by an indigenous people without firearms in the entire history of the British Empire. And I'm just wondering what the approach was. Like, was it always the plan, how it manifested itself, that battle as far as Zulu regiments are concerned? And what was the plan from the British military as well?
Clement, it's so great that we're having this conversation. I have to put certain things into perspective and perhaps in the correct what actually happened there. First and foremost, the Zulu outnumbered the British. Mm-hmm. They were better organized. They were more disciplined. Let's start with the British forces. The way they underestimated the Zulu army, as they were preparing to go to the front, they'd stop under those amazing Zulu trees and have lunch using linen and cotton things on the tables. And on Wednesdays, they used to make a toast. They'll say, may our wives and lovers never meet. That's how relaxed they were. They did not know what was coming their way. And then the Zulu on the other side actually deployed King Shaga's military genius of the Izimpondo, where the horn formation, where you've got the head, the chest, the arms, and the horns, whereby they encircle the British. And the contact was so vicious and it was so thorough that the British could not recover on the same day. In fact, the Zulu went, they overwhelmed them with so much precision, and that at 2 o'clock, the sun, there was a sun eclipse, and then the Zulu say, "Zababulala kwashonilanga," during the day, meaning they were so successful, even the sun took a bow to them, And the British, they were over-strategized. They were not organized. They were not ready for what they expected. But I must say there were some very amazing British soldiers that fought also very well, killed a lot of Zulus, but at the end, they all passed on. The impact of the Zulu defeating the British was so immense that when the news reached England, in number 10 Downing Street, at that time it was Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli. This is what he said. He said, "Who are these amazing people? Who are these remarkable Zulus who defeat my generals, convert my bishops, and put an end to one of Europe's oldest dynasties?" What he was referring to the dynasties, the Zulu are the ones who put an end to the French royal family, because one of their last cousin sons had no children. So he went to the Zulu, he went down to go and fight Isandlwana. The Zulu killed him. So that is why today the French do not have a reigning monarch, because the Zulu took care of that. To this day, they always come in September to where their prince was killed, And then the generals they were talking to, obviously, they were talking about, Chelmsford and all others who got, embarrassed by the Zulu. And with the bishops, they were referring to Bishop Colenso, who was sent to South Africa, if you like, with the Zulu, to come and convert them. But the Zulu ended up converting Bishop Colenso into the Zulu philosophy of religion and thinking. So this is the impact that they had. And yes, the Zulu are the only ones who ever at that time defeated the British. And remember at that time, the British were the greatest power.
Yeah.
They were the equivalent of China or America today.
Hence it's considered, what happened then, this Isandlwana War, considered one of Britain's worst colonial defeats. It's 13 minutes before 11 o'clock. We'll come back with some of your questions. If you have any, 011-883-0702 is the number to call. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. We're talking about the Isandlwana War. So we've been talking about this, also known as the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. What are your recollections? Anything you've read in history that piqued your interest around this war? Anything that confused you, you want clarity around? Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. 12 minutes now before 11.
Oh, dreamers. They love to watch the dice roll, chasing that rush, that one big win. But then there's a different kind of player. Those who rely on strategy and not chance. Who know that winning is earned. Those people play with SportPesa. SportPesa. Make it count. SportPesa is licensed by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No person under the age of 18 permitted to gamble. National Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 650 710. Winners know when to stop.
Something big is happening when the family group chat explodes, like the Chamberlain Big Summer Splash promotion on from 23 October to 9 November. 10% off finest 1903 paint mixing. That's incredible! Amazing deals on outdoor, braai, pool and camping gear. Even the dogs joining in with our social media puppy paw pick competition for a chance to win R1,000. And what's that? You can meet Bucky's Boots live in store at Centurion. Come make a splash with the whole family. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za. You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
It's 10 minutes before 11 o'clock. We are talking about the Isandlwana War, also known as the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. If you've got questions around this period in our history, you can give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. We've been in conversation with Shalom Bata, who is an author and Royal Zulu historian. In fact, let me go to your WhatsApps first, and then I've got some questions that are coming through. Some of you want to know what ultimately led to the end of the war. Some of you are asking about how many people were killed during that war. We'll get into that in a moment. Here's a WhatsApp voice note that's come through.
Hi, Clement. I'm so amazed, shocked that Russia is part of the 6 nations that came over. I've always thought of Russia as a non-colonizer, you know. I guess that's how uneducated I am. But I am shocked, and I'm glad now I know. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. I'll get Charlotte to come back with that. Someone else says, hi, Clement. How were they communicating, the Zulus and the British, due to the language barrier? Walter says, Clement, I'm loving this. The way this woman is breaking down the Battle of Isandlwana is spot on. That 1879 war where the Zulu army used Shaka's cowhorn formation to outsmart and crush the British, pure African brilliance. It's still one of the greatest military upsets in history and a powerful reminder of our strategic genius. Shalo, if you can comment about Russia, but also this question around what the communication was like between the Zulus and the British, because there was a language barrier there.
Okay. I feel for what the sister said. It also broke my heart. However, remember, it was a sign of the times. It was colonial times. It was in the 18th century, And remember, it was not the current Russian government that was in part of this. It was Imperial Russia. And the people who came to South Africa, like all other whites that came at that time, were mercenaries, adventurers. It's a nice way of saying they were pillagers, They came to Africa or South Africa because they were hungry. You cannot be a successful person in your country and then go into a ship and travel for 6 months and hope to get lucky. So those were desperados. So she mustn't worry too much. Russia is on our side at the moment, and I think it's looking good. Having said that, the language thing, no problem. King Shaka, with his genius, I told you, and his brilliance, he had a whole a regiment called Indumezulu, which were between the ages of 18 and 20, that he had trained in modern arms. Number one. And secondly, he had made all those mercenaries that are crash landed on our shores, that they teach us, the Zulu English. So at that time, there was a whole coterie of people who could speak English. And the language was no more a problem at all. Remember, even before King Tetrayo came into being, during King Dingane's time, they already started translating the Bible. Remember, I spoke about Bishop Colenso, who had translated, with the help of Zulus, obviously, the Bible into isiZulu. So the language wasn't a problem whatsoever. And yes, the victory in Isandlwana was not luck, it was by design. It just shows that strategy and spirit can momentarily overturn a whole empire.
Yeah, indeed.
Clement?
Here's another WhatsApp voice note that's come through.
Good morning, Clement. I would just like to ask about the colonial period. Was there any record kept of how many resources were looted, how much of each resource, and why are we not asking for reparations for colonial times? Thanks.
Yeah, that conversation has been there before. I'll get Ashalo to respond to that, the issue of the records of resources that were looted and the issue of reparations. But before she responds, let's go to Kumalo, who's calling us from Ngutu in KwaZulu-Natal. Kumalo, good morning.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Sure, man, go ahead.
I'm good, thanks. I just want to find out from the lady, because she said there were 6 nations, British, French, and other people. So there's a tombstone, actually there's a grave in Ngutu. It's about 20 kilometers from Ngutu. The guy's name is written Prince Imperial, but they said it was Napoleon Bonaparte. Does she know anything about that? She was part of that Isandlwana battle.
Okay.
Yes, I just want to find out.
So there's the tomb known as Napoleon Bonaparte.
No, yes, it was, because every year in July, the French embassy and the other people from France, they come there every year, even if we were young, we used to see white people, so because we were not exposed. So we used to be surprised. Who are these people? Where are they coming from? We used to drive cars. The place called Mvunyana.
Mvunyana. Got it.
Even July, they were there. They were there in July.
All right, Kumalo, got it. Thank you so much for your call. Yeah. Shalo?
Let's start with the looted.
Yes.
You know the guy who called. I'm so happy because I think from his accent, he sounds white. Please give him my number so we can start that movement of going getting our things that are stuck in England and in France. I have sleepless nights thinking about what the British took from us. And yes, there's been a conversation about reparations, but you know, South Africa is in a very messy place. We can't even look outside first. But look, I'm happy. I'll lead the charge to go and get our things back. By the way, they not only loot our resources, you know, our wealth. Okay, they still continue in other means, but they also cut off the heads of our ancestors, and they keep, even today, they still keep them in jugs with, you know, in the museums. We need to go and get those heads. I even discussed it with His Majesty, the late one, that we need to go and get the heads of our ancestors. So that place is a very open source still. And also, King Cetshwayo, when he was, after in Sandwana War, he then organized himself to go to London to go and negotiate his release, because they then put him in exile in Cape Town. He then got on a boat, he went to England and spoke to Queen Victoria. And the place where he was staying is still there. There's a blue plaque written, you know, this King Cetshwayo lived. It's in Mulberry Place, you know, in Kensington. So anyone who goes to visit London, please go around there and pay your respects, because King Cetshwayo, even in those days, managed, you know, to stare down Queen Victoria, powerful as she was, to say, listen, I've defeated you. You need to let me go back home. And yes, I was 3 months in advance. I said it was in September. The guy that the brother spoke about is Prince Imperial Louis Napoleon Bonaparte. It is a cousin of Louis Bonaparte. He was killed on the 1st of June. There's the guy I was referring to about earlier on.
And then there's a question here about other battles that the Zulus lost around the same time. I think there was the Battle of, is it the Rockers Drift? Can you tell us what that was about and what it meant at the time?
Well, you know, the British like gloating about Rockers Drift. For us, Zulus, it's neither here nor there. I'll tell you why. The major war had been lost, number one. Number two, the Zulu fought. That battle lasted for 9 months. It started in January 22nd, 1879, and it stopped in September sometime. Now, the Zulu, they were at war with all the different fresh troops coming in from England. They had no time to rest. And as a human being, there's only so much pressure that you can take. They couldn't even plow the fields because the British were all over the kingdom, trying to save their face for having lost the war. So basically, by the time, and also in perspective, it was only a small number of a regiment that felt for their own pride. They'd been denied the honor of being a Sandwana and the battlefield, the battle theater of Sandwana. So when they saw this British outpost, they went to storm it. They wanted to, so they could tell their, descendants that, look, I also took part, I was not part of the reserve force. So basically, yeah, the Zulu went there, they stormed it, and the British killed that small regiment. But they needed to gloat, they needed to save their face. It's as though that was like a breaking point of the army. No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. The war only stopped in September because the Zulu were hungry, they were tired, and there was no food. Okay, and Clement, I think your listeners are going to like to hear this. Then in July, they went and burnt our capital, Ulundi, which they've never even apologized for. So King Cetshwayo retreated into the mountains and into the caves. So they went and found him. The day he was brought back when he was now on his way to England, when they took him to exile, the day the British brought him to go and talk to General Worsley, something amazing happened. The very British soldiers that he had defeated, they stood in guard of honor, 100 of them, 50 this side, 50 that side. They stood in honor and in guard, and they saluted him as he walked through them. Okay, now it meant even though he was defeated, they still respected his brilliance in war. So it's not lost. if the British want to gloat about Rocks Reef, let them knock themselves out.
Shalom Bata, fascinating stuff. Author and Royal Zulu historian. Thank you so much for making time for us. This has been so informative.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Celebrate the diverse musical expressions that connect us across borders, languages, and cultures, honoring ancestral sounds that have echoed across the continent for generations at the Nairok Sculpture Park in the Cradle of Humankind on Sunday, the 2nd of November. Good Neighbors is a dynamic gathering of African artists, both emerging and established, exploring indigenous instruments, layered harmonies, rhythms, and innovative interpretations of traditional sounds, featuring Amatotana Asewesili, Zawadi, Yumungu, and Silent Ngo, among others, as well as MC Loiso Kola. Limited tickets are available from nyroxarts.com. Nyrox is a private, not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program, and artist support.
Win a year's supply of fuel with Engine. Plus, stand a chance to win one of 5 double rugby tickets to see Wales versus South Africa live in Cardiff. To enter, spend 600 Rand or more when you fill up at any Engine. 2 lucky winners will win every week. Pay with the Engine One app and double your chances to win. T's and C's apply. Engine. With us, you are number one.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Johannesburg High Court has agreed with the Magistrates Court that alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Cat Matlala is a flight risk. The High Court has this morning dismissed Matlala's bail appeal. Matlala escalated his bid for bail to the High Court after the Alexandra Magistrates Court ruled that he is not eligible for bail. He is accused of calling a hit on his socialite girlfriend, Tebogo Tobejane. Khomozo Madisa reports.
One of the factors considered by the Alexandra Magistrates Court in denying Vusmuzi Cat Matlala bail was his Eswatini ID, which he'd asked his wife for a picture of, and his foreign interests, with it being revealed that he has a trust account in Mauritius. In his judgment, Judge Peter du Plessis says he's unable to differ with the view of the Magistrates Court that Matlala is a flight risk, specifically where it was stated that Matlala has both the means and the potential opportunity to evade trial. In order for Matlala to be granted bail, the court must be convinced that his release is in the interest of justice. But Judge du Plessis has ruled that the interest of justice won't be served by his release. Khomozo Modise, Eyewitness News.
A former preschool teacher found guilty of the rape and murder of her boyfriend's child is back in the Johannesburg High Court for sentencing proceedings. Amberly Hughes killed and sexually assaulted 4-year-old Nada Chalita in 2023. In August this year, the Johannesburg High Court found that Hughes planned to kill the little girl. Ndozo Kumalo reports.
After 2 years of proceedings and many delays, Amberly Hughes' sentencing is finally at sight. The parents of the little girl say nothing can bring their child back. Hughes drowned the little girl in a bathtub in their home in 2023. The preschool teacher was in a relationship with the child's father at the time. In August, Judge Richard Makadela stated that Hughes had not only wasted the court's time with her false testimony, but caused unnecessary trauma for the child's family. The NPA says it will be arguing for maximum sentencing. Ndogozo Khumalo, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
Some property law experts believe the city of Ekurhuleni has no leg to stand on in a dispute over the compensation for privately owned land on the East Rand. The matter is set to square off against Business Venture Investment 900 in court this week over Ekurhuleni's 2019 decision to expropriate the company's property without compensation. The company says it isn't opposed to the expropriation itself, but disputes the city's decision to offer no compensation. London. Alfara Mushwana reports.
It's been 6 years since the city of Ekurhuleni issued Business Venture Investments 900 with a notice of expropriation for their 34-hectare land. Internal documents revealed that the city justified its offer of zero compensation on the grounds that the land has not generated any economic activity. But some experts believe that the city's decision not to pay for the property may have been an overreach. Property law lecturer at Stellenbosch University, Tanfir Jiwa.
The city did not interpret the law correctly. As it stands, the Expropriation Act of 2024 is not currently operational, regardless of the fact that you are expropriating land under the National Housing Act. You still need the Expropriation Act to calculate the compensation.
Section 25 of the Constitution states that compensation for expropriation must be just and equitable, taking into account the property's market value as well as the reason for expropriation. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $4,072.35 an ounce. The rand is at 17.22 to the dollar, 22.93 to the pound, 20.01 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.21 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got delays on the R21 North. This is between the R25 turn off and Olifantsfontein Road. At this particular moment, I'm seeing an accident between these 2 points. And do remember that we still have got roadworks taking place along the same route. So do expect about a 20-minute hold up there. While traveling on the N3 North, this bumper-to-bumper traffic between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange due to more roadworks.
A cloudy day in store for Gauteng with scattered isolated showers and thunder showers expected later. The temperatures will peak at highs between 27 and 29 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The Johannesburg High Court has agreed with the Magistrates Court that alleged crime boss Vusmuzi Ketmatlala is a flight risk.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 11 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the third and final hour of the Clement Manyathela Show. Thank you for staying with us here on 702. I hope you are well and your morning continues to go well so far. It's time now for our Family Matters feature.
702.
Family Matters.
On our Family Matters feature today, we are discussing how parents and guardians can guide their children when it comes to friendships. How do you make sure that your kids choose the right friends? Friendships are among the most powerful forces shaping a child's life. They teach empathy, they teach cooperation, they teach trust. But they can also lead to insecurities, heartbreaks, dangerous peer pressure, you name it. And for many parents, one of the hardest balancing acts is knowing when to step in and what to do when you step in and when to hold back and how to guide their children through friendships that can either build or break their confidence. So as children grow, their social world expands from the playground and classroom to the digital spaces where peer influence is much even stronger than ever. The friends they choose can shape their identity. They can shape so much about their lives, their decision-making, mental health. And while parents can't really control those relationships, they can play a critical role in helping children recognize that healthy friendships look like this and that, and help the children walk away from the wrong friendships. And I often wonder how parents can teach their children to recognize red flags in friendships. When can they pick up when there's manipulation, when there's exclusion, or even peer pressure? When should a parent even intervene directly in a child's friendship, and when is it better to let the child handle it on their own? How have you done it? I would like you to give us a call on 011-883-0702. How do you and how have you been guiding your kids when it comes to friendship? How do you make sure that your kids choose the right friends? And when do you choose to hold off? And are you more involved when they're still young? Do you get involved when they're much older? Or is there a cutoff period where you think, okay, you are 18 now, you can decide who you're friends with, go make your mistakes, you've got carte blanche to decide? Or do you still want to have a say even when they are adults or young adults? 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072-702-1702. Jeannie Cave is a clinical psychologist who will be guiding us through this conversation. Jeannie, thank you so much for making time for us. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you so much for inviting me back. It's always wonderful to be with you all.
Let's start by looking at why friendships are such an important part of a child's emotional development.
Friendships are an incredibly important part of life. The concept of family as we know it is only between 5,000 and 8,000 years old. And before that, we had a lot more community, we had a lot more kinship, we had more loosely connected relationships with different people. And since the agricultural era, really, it's been a lot more isolated into these artificial little pockets we call family. People need other people, and the family is actually ideally thought of now as the training ground for navigating relationships throughout the community and throughout different parts of life. So now, as Esther Perel says, we are expecting one or two people to fulfill a role an entire village used to fulfill for us. And we actually need to start thinking of the family as the training ground for building relationships with the village again, so that all of our needs are sustainably met across the lifespan.
Yeah. So what do children actually learn from their peers that they can't always learn from adults and from their parents?
I think it's actually probably going to be the other way around. Not so much about what children need to learn from their peers as what the needs that they have from their peers in what is called your horizontal culture. So the vertical culture is what you get from your parents, and that is actually where the learning takes place. But in terms of the horizontal culture of what children need from their peers is where the learning that takes place in the family will have either effectiveness of having the needs met in the peer relationships and with friends and colleagues and greater community, rather than them needing to learn outside what the family cannot teach them. And I think that's the important kind of theme of our session, of our talk today, is the family. What can the family do to help children and guide them in relationships? Is to actually model optimal and healthy relationships to their children, so that children, first of all, there's two kinds of guiding and selecting friends, and also then guiding and navigating friendships.
Yeah.
So that in terms of the collaboration that we need from our peers, in terms of the sense of belonging that we get from our horizontal culture, that our children are able to do that in an effective and healthy way. Because fundamentally, what do we as parents ultimately need to know is we ultimately need to know that one day when we're not on this planet anymore, our children will still be okay. And hopefully they're well into their adulthood when that happens. But we need to know that they've got more than just us as parents.
Yeah.
So the learning takes place in the family, but the skills that take place in the learning in the family, those are needed for sustainable relationships across the lifespan outside of the family.
Yeah, and we'll talk about what parents, guardians can do to guide those friendships. But let's also help them understand, at what age do these friendships begin to play a real role in shaping a child's identity and a sense of belonging? Because some parents are probably listening thinking, yeah, I see my child is friends with this person, but should I be guiding them there? Because this looks like not a meaningful friendship, doesn't affect them that much. At what point then does this friendship begin to play a role in shaping that child's identity and sense of belonging, so the parents know when exactly to start paying attention?
I think parents have got to start paying attention from like very early on, from when children start engaging even with their parents. But when do friendships start becoming more influential is from about the age of 10. So you set the foundation for that before the age of 10, from the time that your child starts engaging with other people. And those foundations set your child up for when their friends start to become more influential is from the age of 10. That's where loyalty, who's in, who's out, the group dynamics, the social structure, the social hierarchy of friendship becomes incredibly important. And anybody who knows a 10-year-old girl will also tell you, how suddenly is all loyalty. There's even a book called Teenager about raising 10-year-old girls, how important loyalty is and who's friends with who and who's in and who's out from the and boys as well. Really, really sad, Clement, is that from about the age of 10, boys start getting told that male friendships are less important and less valuable, and even might be a bit thought of as a bit gay to have close male friendships. And so from the age of about 10 to 12, boys stop actually getting their emotional needs met in their male friendships and start to have friends that are more like teammates. And there's a little bit more of, banter and rough play, and not so much of the same kind of social and meaningful emotional interaction as girls are allowed to have. And some researchers say that this is an incredibly important contributing factor to the male loneliness epidemic that we're seeing, where men don't actually have close emotional relationships with other men. So it's important from the word go to expose your children to friendship, give them the opportunity to socialize and learn how to navigate the social context, but from about the age of 10. And I think that it's also important to differentiate when we say guiding, are we talking about helping our children develop the skills that they need to choose friends and navigate friendships? Or are we talking about imposing our preferences, our will, and interfering with our children's friendships? And I think that's an important differentiator for parents also to know, am I actually guiding my child to develop the skills of good selection and good navigation, or am I interfering in how I would like their friendships to be?
I've got a parent who just sent us a WhatsApp voice note who says, to guide friendships, I do it through sports. It's the best thing I ever did. Trainings, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Then Saturdays, you've got matches. On Sunday, it's church. There's no time for an idle mind. Lastly, try and befriend the parents of the good kid. Then it forces that friendship. So that's what this parent says. They are guiding that friendship. What are your thoughts on this approach, Jeannie?
I think that this is a parent who is putting in a lot of time and effort in being very mindful and intentional with giving their child a fair chance to develop friendships. So I really like that. They're not saying, oh, my child has to be friends with my best friend's child because we're best friends and we want to socialize together. They're saying, okay, I'm identifying the kind of child that I would like to give my child an opportunity to become friends with. I think that an important caveat that I'd add there is that if your child is sporty, if your child is not sporty, would be to find another context in which they would feel part of a social system that is aligned with their temperament. We sometimes like to think that we are sculpting our children or molding them like a sculptor would mold, clay or marble. But actually, we're more like gardeners, right? We need to give our children everything that they need so that they can become themselves that they were always going to be. So I love what this parent is saying in terms of being intentional and creating opportunities, because that's the parent's responsibility, is to create those opportunities. I love what this parent is saying. It's like doing it intentionally for the child's best interest, and not that the child has to automatically be besties with their best friends' kids. But actually, the only nuance that I would add to that is, yes, if your child is sporty, then that is a wonderful place for the child to start developing relationships with people that have got similar interests and values. But if your child was not sporty, it would be about finding places and opportunities in which they can develop those skills in a way that still lets them be themselves.
So many parents, of course, struggle with the idea of guiding their children's friendships without being overbearing. So what's the right balance between allowing independence and stepping in when necessary?
I think that it's more about what you model than what you teach, right? So if you are modeling optimal relationships, if you are modeling in your relationship with the child what is actually a safe and healthy relationship, and if you are modeling in your friendships what are safe and healthy optimal friendships in your friendship selections and how you navigate your friendships, then the risk of you becoming overbearing is incredibly, incredibly low. I think also communicating in metaphors and communicating in like symbolically, that is also incredibly helpful in sharing your wisdom, sharing what it is that you've learned, but not imposing on the child or telling them what to do. So for example, can I share with you my favorite metaphor for friendship when working with children?
Sure.
Would that be okay? So
Yes,
my favorite metaphor, and it's actually very good for grown-ups as well, is I say that I talk about the magic friendship beans. So when you are born, you get half a jar of magic friendship beans in your heart. And happiness in life is when the jar is full. Sadness in life is when the jar is empty. Now, you can't make more beans by yourself, and you can't buy more beans at the shops, but you have to plant a bean in a friend's garden and wait for a beanstalk to grow. Sometimes you plant a bean in a friend's garden and you get a beautiful beanstalk and you get 5 magic friendship beans in return for every one that you plant. And that then means you've got more and more to plant there, and that's really great. Sometimes you plant in a friend's garden and you have to plant 3 beans in order to get 1 back. And that's not a good place to plant, right? Just move on and you plant somewhere else. Sometimes you plant a bean in a friend's garden, you get 10 back for a season. And the next season you get 5. And the next one after that you get 2. And before you know it, you're giving 5 for every one that you get back. So you've got to be very, very, very wise with your beans. You're not going to get a bean if you don't plant it. So there's no harm in planting a bean in a friend's garden, but you've got to be very mindful of where you are getting actually magic friendship beans back so that you can fill your jar and have happiness in life. So that's an example, Clemens, of a metaphor. I'm not telling the child, don't be friends with so-and-so. I'm not telling the child, oh, so-and-so is using you or so-and-so is bullying you. I'm guiding my child with the tools and skills in principle by talking about a metaphor that doesn't elicit either the child's defensiveness or even crisis in loyalty. Because remember, when they're at school, they don't have you there. When they're at home, they don't have their friend there. So as soon as you create a triangle with your child's friend, you put them in a crisis of loyalty, and it's going to be very difficult for them to navigate. I would also never, for example, tell a child to stop being friends with someone. I would say, why don't we window shop for a friend where you get a little bit more magic friendship beans and create, like the first person who messaged in, create more opportunities for them to develop friendships with children who are actually more reciprocal with them, that allow them to feel better about themselves, in which there's more compatibility, and constantly focusing on the compatibility of the children's needs and preferences rather than good kids or bad kids.
Yeah. 011-883-0702. That's the number to dial. If you've got questions, you want to share your experience of how you have guided your children in friendships, and at what age did you start perhaps intervening or trying to be that guiding light? You can call or send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702. Are you just like that other parent who says, I just make sure that they are completely occupied with sports, so rather they find friends who also do sports? You befriend the parents of the good friend that they have. How do you do it to ensure that your kids don't end up in toxic friendships? Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. It's 23 after 11.
Stamina Grow is a 5-in-1 supplement with amino acids, antioxidants, B vitamins, and other essential vitamins and minerals. Stamina Grow helps promote energy, well-being, immune defense, and mental vitality. Stamina Grow, 22 years of supporting Mzansi. Ranked amongst the top 5 best-performing multivitamin brands in SA. Stamina Grow. Grow for it.
Imagine if you could save time like you save money. A second here, a minute there. Type a little faster, walk a little faster. Or you could stop scrolling on the internet. Just think of all the hours you'll save. Now what if you could take all that time and invest it? Watch it grow. Until eventually, one day, you'd have so much time that you wouldn't know what to do with it all. But unfortunately, time doesn't work like that. It can't be stored or banked. And unlike money, you can't make it back. That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do whatever you want to do, even if it is scrolling on the internet. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to We Buy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy brands that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. We Buy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
702.
Family Matters.
25 minutes after 11 o'clock, we're in conversation with Jeannie Cave, who is a clinical psychologist, about how you as a parent, as a guardian, maybe as a sibling who's taking care of your other siblings, your younger siblings, how you guide their friendship in just their friendships and the relationships that they have with their friends. At what point do you intervene? Should you intervene? How do you intervene while also allowing the children themselves to be independent and make decisions about who they want to be friends with? And at what point do you as a parent say, I take the final decision about who you can be friends with? And at what point do you allow them that more independent leeway to decide for themselves? We're taking your calls on 011 883 0702, WhatsApps on 072 702 702.
Hi, Clement. Your topic, it's like something that I really, really needed. My son has had a little bit of difficulty picking friends because he's such a giving person. I've noticed that some of his friends tend to take advantage of his kindness and the fact that he likes to share. And at the time where he is now sharing maybe with another friend, they have started becoming manipulative and telling him that sometimes, let's say, I'm not going to be your friend if you don't do this, if you don't do that. And in particular, there was one friend who is actually quite a bully. And unfortunately, with this one, I had to tell him that, look, this person is going to get you into trouble. So, yeah, it's quite rough out there. Thank you. Chivas here in Boxburg.
Yeah, Chivas, thank you. Ginny, any advice for Chivas there? He picks up that the friends of his kid are taking advantage of him. They can be manipulative as well. And as you respond to that, I wonder, Ginny, if it's advisable for parents to actually have conversations with the friends of their children, or is it best to just talk to your children? Because some parents will talk to, like if they realize that the friends of their children are manipulative, for instance, they will have a conversation with them and maybe even confront them. And I wonder what the best approach is. Like, steer clear of your friends' friends, rather speak to their parents, or address your child directly.
So first would be to support your child and help your child develop those skills. That would be first choice. If the problem persists and it's no longer just uncomfortable but becoming unsafe for your child, then I would address the child's parents next. If it continues and you're not getting any joy from the child's parents, I would let the other child's parents know that I'm going to address it with the school. And then that has to be the last stop. I would never, ever encourage an adult to confront a child in any situation whatsoever. So definitely, if those first three, mentoring your child, modeling for your child, supporting your child doesn't work, speaking to the parents, and then let the parents know that if it persists, you're now going to have to escalate it to the school. I would never encourage you to confront somebody else's child. And definitely don't go to the school without giving the parents first a good heads up. But first, port of call, try to encourage your child. What I really appreciated about that caller was that he didn't make it a problem between him and his child. He didn't say to his child, you and I are going to have a problem if you continue to be friends with that child. He didn't say, I don't want you to be friends with that child. You're not allowed to be friends with that child. in a very, very supportive way, he indicated to his child the consequences that could possibly happen if this behavior or this pattern of interaction continues. So I think the fact that this man has got I didn't catch his name, I'm sorry, the kind of relationship where his son is telling him about this, he's already doing such a great job as a dad, that his boy is comfortable talking to him and getting guidance from him. And by commenting on what's happening in the pattern of interaction with the other child, dad didn't say, it's a bad kid, stay away from that terrible child. He said, my boy, if you carry on in this pattern, you are going to have trouble, you are going to get into bad consequences. And so focusing on the problem and the consequences rather than, I don't want you to be friends with him or he's a bad kid. I thought that was very beautiful and very effective.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I've got some more WhatsApps coming through and calls. We'll get to them after the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. It's 11:30. Maki, good morning.
Thanks, Clement. Good morning. The Johannesburg High Court has agreed with a magistrate's court that alleged crime boss Clement Manyathela is a flight risk. The High Court has this morning dismissed Manyathela's bail appeal. Manyathela escalated his bid for bail to the High Court after the Alexandra Magistrates Court ruled that he's not eligible for bail. He's accused of calling a hit on his socialite girlfriend, Tebogo Tobejane. The South African Police Service's head of ballistics, Brigadier Mishak Mkhabela, has revealed that his department is critically understaffed. Mkhabela, an SAPS ballistics expert, is testifying before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which is investigating allegations of corruption within the police service and the judiciary. He's expected to provide evidence on how the murder weapons used in the killing of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart were linked to other high-profile assassinations. And Jamaican authorities have urged residents to evacuate to one of 900 shelters set up across the island. This as Storm Melissa is due to hit the island and Cuba. The U.S. National Hurricane Center says the hurricane has intensified and could read a Category 5, the highest, when it makes landfall either this evening or tomorrow. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at midday or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Travelling on the R21 North, there's been an accident near the Olifantsfontein Road turn-off, causing delays from the R25. About a 20-minute hold-up there. Please be on the lookout and try to use the N1 North towards areas like Midrand as well as Pretoria. While travelling on the N3 North, bumper-to-bumper traffic between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange due to roadworks. There's also queuing traffic on the southern direction of this route. This is due to an accident right after Marlborough Drive. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic on the M2 West. This is between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. An accident has been reported between these 2 points and they're causing about a 15-minute hold up there. Please be on the lookout and drive with care. And that's your last traffic update from me, Amo Ramela. Otherwise, Karabujali will have your next traffic report from the top of the hour onwards. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Money allegedly spent by a school principal in the Eastern Cape. This was money that was meant for a school feeding scheme. It's not just the politicians who are louche. We're living with these avaricious hyenas. Spittle dripping down their mouths, looking to feed at every turn. Hungry little piggies, ready to feed at the trough.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Summer is about rewarding yourself with oceanic views, sizzling braais, and so much more. Earn your share of 120 million rand in real cashback, depending on your rewards tier, when you pay with your Absa Visa card. Plus, enter the Absa Swiper competition and stand a chance to win one of 10 cars. This summer could be the best you've had in years. Your story matters. Absa, T's and C's apply. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider.
Josie, my Josie, a city made of swag, passion and resilience. Over here, we rise with the sun, Namateksi. We are a city of doers, creators and believers. When we unite, yonke into iyahlangana. From corner offices to corner veggie stalls or corner pre-chat and receipt. Josie, my Josie, a city where even those who were not born here are made here. Yabona la, citizenship is awarded to the curious. There's magic and beauty in our city. So we call on everyone to come experience it. Babiza bonke to come see Jozi and all its people. Because this city is all of us. Come witness our citizens do it. Babiza bonke to come see the actions of the invisibles. Those building our city from the ground up. So we have a home we can all proudly call Jozi My Jozi. Visit jozimyjozi.com to see how Jozi does it.
Babe,
Yeah?
the fridge light finally stopped flickering.
Yeah. I replaced it.
You replaced it?
Mm-hmm.
Like on your own?
Yep.
You know what that means.
Party! Every excuse is a great one when you've got balloons, bubbles, gift wrap, cards, candles, and dress up.
I'm calling it the Fridge Light Festival!
The Crazy Store. Hey, you never know what you might find to have a good party.
702.
Family Matters.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're having a conversation this morning about friendship, our children and friendship. How do you interface with that in your household? How do you guide your children in friendships? What do you do when you are concerned about your children's friends or the things they do with their friends? How do you intervene? At what point do you allow them to go make mistakes, and even when they're friends you think they're not good for them, you still allow them that independence to decide for themselves? And at what point do you try to take the driver's seat and be more deliberate about guiding them in their friendships? We're taking your calls on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. We're speaking to Jeannie Cave, who's a clinical psychologist. She's guiding us through this conversation. Let's hear from this WhatsApp voice note.
Hi, Clement and Jeannie. Great subject. I'm really enjoying it. My kids are a little bit older now. They're in their late teens, so I don't really have much control over their friendships. But something that I found really, really helpful when they were younger is helping them to work on their self-esteem in terms of how they get treated by others. And that was really valuable because I saw through the years that people that weren't treating them well or were taking more than they were giving, that they were able to value themselves enough to turn away from those friendships. And I must say, looking at them now, going into young adulthood, I'm really, really proud of the friends that they've chosen. I always encourage them to choose friends that bring into their lives as much as they bring into their lives. It's Lee here from Cape Town.
Thank you so much for that WhatsApp voice note. There's also a question here, Jeannie, about just practical ways. Someone is asking you to give them some practical ways that they as parents can talk to their children about their friends, especially teenagers, because it's them that can be a bit secretive and defensive sometimes when you try to chat to them about friends.
I really want to just say in that beautiful voice note, I could not agree more. So fundamentally, I follow a person-centered philosophy and approach that, given the right set of circumstances, human beings have a natural progression towards greater and greater social constructiveness. That just like plants reach towards the sun, just like a tree's roots go down towards the water, that human beings, when given the right set of relational circumstances, will make healthier and healthier choices for themselves. So we might call that self-esteem, we might call that nervous system regulation. But if a child is choosing the pain of a toxic friendship over leaving that friendship, it means that the friendship is actually feeling safer than leaving that friendship. And we have to help our children to feel safe in their nervous systems and safe in their minds, that they are able to leave friendships that don't make them ultimately feel good and make better and better constructive decisions. So when we help our children to regulate their nervous systems by regulating our own nervous systems and co-regulating, by helping our children, they're in the information age, their nervous systems are overwhelmed. When people have overwhelmed nervous systems, they react for survival, and that can sometimes look like fawning or developing loyalty to the people who threaten them. So developing loyalty to the bully, developing loyalty to the bad behavior of the child that makes them feel terrible about themselves in order to please and appease with a survival response called the fawn response. So making sure our children's nervous systems are resourced in this information age by giving them lots and lots of co-regulation, and also making sure that we are looking after them physically to make sure their nervous systems are well taken care of. And I think that the most important thing is just like you should never talk to your child about their weight. You should never, ever do it. You should simply provide what it is that they're needing, right? So if you feel like your child is, gaining a bit of weight that doesn't look like it's a healthy amount of weight for them to be gaining because it's not like them, then you don't say to your child, you're a bit chubby, why don't we put you on a diet? You simply make healthier choices for them. You simply provide healthier variety of foods for them. You get them out to play more sport. You get them out to do more physical things, but you don't comment on the problem. So to your point, Clement, when it's with your teenagers, of course, they're going to become defensive because in adolescence, your friends are incredibly important and incredibly influential. And we know that there is also something called the law of group dynamics, which is if you belong to two groups, Group A and Group B, and somebody from Group A criticizes somebody from Group B, you will defend Group B. So if your adolescent belongs in a relationship with you and they belong in this friendship group or this friendship, and you criticize, they will defend that person. I often think to myself, if Romeo and Juliet's parents had just let them do what they wanted to do in that situation, they probably would have gotten bored of each other within a couple of weeks and moved on, right? But instead, by forbidding them to spend time together, of course, that is going to be like a red flag to a bull, and it drives them actually closer and closer together. So instead of talking about the friendships, instead of commenting on the friendship, is to rather model and for your child, what does a healthy relationship look like by being a healthy attachment partner to them? It's not about never having fights, but it's about what does the repair look like? It's not about, always having positive and good feelings towards each other, but it's like, how do we talk about problems when they arise? So that your children start to develop a muscle memory, just like that lovely caller in that voice note, they start to develop a muscle memory of what feels aligned and healthy for them. And then have the resilience, have the ego strength, have the reserves that should something not feel aligned for them, they're able to be alone and by themselves while they are transitioning from one friend to another friend. Sitting alone at school in a closed system like that, and the idea of being alone at break, that is, I don't know if you can recall that, Clement, it is like torture for a child to think about being alone or isolated or ostracized when it's break time, and it's a closed system, right? You have only those people. So for a child to be able to say this friendship isn't aligned for me, it's not socially constructive, we're not compatible as friends, I need to break away, I need to make healthier choices, they also have to be quite comfortable in having that moment of solitude in which they aren't dependent on the friend or aren't dependent on that interaction or that friend group in order to make a new choice and risk vulnerability of making different choices for themselves. So modeling for them is incredibly important by how you communicate with them. They will then gain the skills to be able to communicate effectively, and they will also be able to discern what feels aligned for them and not aligned for them. I saw a really fabulous reel there. I can't remember who it was. It said that we can't expect children to be miniature adults. Right. So we can't, your child is born, you don't say, well, I'm going to feed him steak because one day he's going to have to eat steak. My son is 9. I'm not saying, well, he has to drive himself to school because one day he has to drive himself to school. If you want your child to be an adult with meaningful friendships that are constructive and healthy, you have to be an adult who's able to have healthy and constructive relationships. If you want your child to be generous, you have to be generous to them. Think about how sometimes we actually expect children to be even superhuman adults. We expect them to, share things that they aren't ready to share. If you're in the shops and you're pushing a trolley and somebody asks you, hey, can I use that trolley? You're going to say, no, I'm busy with it. But what do we do with children? We say, no, give it to him, share, come share. But actually also wait your turn, that if somebody's busy with something, let them finish being busy with it. So not expecting our children to be miniature adults, but modeling to them the kind of adults that we would like them to be able to be in terms of their skills of discernment and selection, and also in terms of navigating the complexity of relationships. through
Yeah.
modeling and also better communicating rather than commenting and instructing.
What happened when the children are teenagers, or let's say they're 18 or just slightly above, and the parents can see that I'm a bit worried about the people or friends that the children have attached to? Because the other listener said earlier, well, they are already teens now, so I'm not getting involved. At what point should parents not get involved and trust that their children, even as young adults or as teenagers, have the necessary framework to respond to friends? I mean, what do I do? I suppose my question, Jenny, is what do I do as a parent when I can see that my child, as old as they may be, are being manipulated or they're being abused? They don't have the proper framework to deal with whatever they're facing in that friendship, and they are a victim here. Do I stay away because they are a young adult, because they are a teenager?
So I think that beautiful voice note, it's a very beautiful relationship she has with her kids, where she feels confident because she's already given them the skill of self-esteem, so she can kind of just keep an eye on things as things tick over. But we must remember that our frontal lobes of like making good decisions only fully mature between the age of 21 and 25. So whether your kids are 18, and actually anybody can get into an abusive relationship across the lifespan. It's not only kids are just more vulnerable because they don't have perspective taking, they don't have the emotional regulation. Adolescents also don't have something called temporal awareness, which is the awareness of the passage of time. So they're not aware, this feeling of, anxiety is only temporary. For them, it feels like forever. They don't have an idea that, these friends are just for now. It feels like these have got to be my friends for the rest of my life. So I would say, like in a relationship, whether it's with your child or with anybody else, that when you are an active participant in a relationship, you never just say, well, c'est la vie, whatever, whatever happens to you is fine. But it's about the how. It's about the how you intervene, which is incredibly, incredibly important. So something that I learned at puppy school, my two little gorgeous French bulldogs that I took to puppy school, was when they went from being in puppy 1 to puppy 2. I learned a lot about relationships and communication at puppy school, I must tell you that much. When they went from puppy 1 to puppy 2, and all the dogs are now getting sort of adolescent age, the trainer said that you've got to, just like teenagers, you've got to make it more attractive for them to want to come to you when you're doing recall. So there's playtime and all the dogs go wild. It's like instant serotonin. It's so adorable. The dogs are playing. It's like puppies of all sorts of shapes and sizes. They're having a blast. And then you want them to come back to you as the parent. Now, you've got to make it more attractive for them to come back to you as the parent. The trainer said you're not going to scream and shout at them and get them to come back to you like that. You have to say, come guys, it's time. We're going to go for a movie. We're going to go and have a pizza. Obviously not with your dogs, with your children. You've got to make it attractive for them to want to be with you. So rather than trying to prevent them from being with XYZ friend or XYZ situation, is what would make it more attractive for them to be with you. What about being with you feels safer in that moment of moving out of an abusive relationship, in that moment of moving out of a friendship in which these two, and remember that your child is also participating in that friendship. Derek Jackson always says, perhaps your child isn't in a bad crowd. Your child is, part of that crowd. What is it that these kids are pinging on each other and eliciting from each other that doesn't serve your child or the other child? And that is to rather make it attractive to rather be with you as the parent, safer to be with you as a parent, so that it makes more sense to their nervous system to rather align with you than align with the situation where they're reacting for survival rather than responding for benefit. So that was something that I learned from puppy school that I found very valuable, both with my dogs and with my child.
I've got a message here from Anonymous who says, Clement, what a timely topic for me. Our teenage son had friends who had become a distraction. He was an A student, but since he developed the relationship with them, his grades started dropping. After grade 7, we moved him to another school. He had become particularly close with one of the boys who is a total distraction. Unfortunately, the boy was moved to the same school the following year. For the 1 year, he had started focusing, but his grades are now dropping. we feel the same boy is having an effect on his academic performance. What is the best way to handle this situation?
So a very tough situation here because you're not there, are you? You're not there at school and you've already like moved your child to another school and this is now happening again and you're not there at school with them. So I can understand the anxiety, I can understand the distress. And so once again, I would say that looking at, what is actually the trap in this friendship with the other child. So all of us are just looking to extract love from the world. That is what we are looking to do. All of us are moving through this world looking to extract a certain kind of love. What love is this other child giving your child that feels for them valuable and attractive? Figure that currency out and provide it in a better quality way that is more nourishing rather than satisfying for your child, of looking at what is the entrapment here, that even after a break, your child is once again falling back into the same pattern. So the reset didn't even work. Is to listen very carefully. What is your child actually saying about this friendship? What is it that they are the love that they are trying unsuccessfully maybe here to win from that child, and then provide that for them in a way that is much healthier and much more constructive and much more attractive for them to align with you, to align with safety, to respond for benefit, and break this pattern with this other child that is a pattern of destruction and deterioration.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that, Jenny. And then we spoke about what to do when the parents are seeing that something is wrong with, their child and their friendship, and their child is already a teenager, and now they're wondering, okay, how do I intervene? Can I even intervene? Or should I allow the children to make these mistakes themselves? Peer pressure obviously can lead to risk-taking behavior, especially in adolescence. How then parents do they build a child's confidence to say no and make their independent choices? Because once you've cultivated that, then you're avoiding a scenario where you would have to come through and intervene on certain things. You can trust that your child has been given the framework to be able to say yes, no to certain things, and they can make their independent choices, and you are comfortable for them to do that as a parent. How can parents do that and build that child's confidence to be able to know what is right, what is not, and to be able to confidently say no when they are being asked to do things that contradict their values or that they don't want to get involved in?
So I think it's so important, that intervening can look like many different things. It's not about whether to intervene or not. It's about how that intervention needs to look. So I would say, if you trust your adolescent to manage your salary that you get into your bank account every month, then sure, let them go and do their thing, run their friendships independently, completely independently. Don't say or do anything and just leave them to it. However, if you feel that your adolescent, they're a great kid, but you're not going to let them like run the household, you're not going to let them live on their own just yet, then I would say intervene, but intervene in such a way in which you are modeling and facilitating and supporting your teen rather than protecting them, instructing them, dictating, and teaching them or telling them what to do. Criticizing and blaming the other child, name calling of the other child, putting your teen into a crisis of loyalty. So the time you stop intervening in friendships, right? So I'm not talking about like abusive romantic relationships or marriages or anything like that. The time you stop doing that is the day you feel your teen can live independently your child can live independently on their own and run their own household. Until that time, they do need you, but it's about how you intervene. And you intervene in such a way in which you are modeling, you are meta-communicating, which is talking about communication rather than talking about people or situations. You are equipping them with the tools that they need, that they know it's safe to talk to you. Let's say they did get into using substances. it's safe for them to talk to you and say, I need help, that they're never going to be in trouble with you for a learning curve. And they're never going to be in trouble with you for asking for help, no matter what it is, so that it's safer to rather ask for help than it is to continue with the destructive pattern.
Yeah.
Because the right circumstances in which people can make healthy choices for themselves is an optimal relationship. An optimal relationship in which the parent, there can be honesty, there can be transparency, there can be vulnerability. So congruent communication, that the child doesn't have to hide anything. A relationship in which the parent drives the car, right? The parent is the driver of the bus. The parent doesn't tell the child what to do, but the parent does keep the relationship safe, in which the child is not flying blind out there in the world, and also one in which the parent behaves appropriately, gives the child problem-solving skills and tools by modeling those, and making it completely safe, that the child is able to talk to them and get the support rather than the protection. Because remember what we always say, protection is the opposite of support. So intervening doesn't mean interfering. Intervening means you keep an eye on things and you give your child what they need, rather than interfering in telling them what to do.
Yeah. I've got two more questions just quickly before we wrap up. Jenny, one is around the warning signs. Like, what warning signs should parents watch out for if a friendship is affecting their child's mood, their anxiety or behavior? So what are the warning signs? But also, what about social media? Because that has changed the way that children form and maintain friendships. So are online friends as emotionally impactful as real world ones? And what advice do you give to parents about monitoring digital friendships so that they can keep their children safe without, of course, breaking their trust?
Well, I think it's about, in terms of the second one, having open communication and letting your children know what you're monitoring. So it's not about not monitoring. And it's like I said, if you feel you can trust your child to run their own household, by all means, leave them to it. But if you feel that this child is still needing some time to mature, still needing some time to learn some life skills, that they probably wouldn't be able to run their home by themselves, and they shouldn't be running their phone by themselves. But not about hiding what you are seeing, or trying to trick them or trying to trap them, and having a very open conversation about, this is why I keep my eye on the ball, and adolescents won't understand because their frontal lobes are not developed, but actually this is just part of my role as a parent, is to keep my eye on the ball and to know what's going on. But I never look at something that I didn't tell my child I'm going to look at. So that's in terms of managing social media, making sure that you obviously have parental controls, but that you do tell your child what you're going to be monitoring, but ultimately that your child feels safe. If they're not sure about an interaction, not sure about a message or a communication, they're able to talk to you. If they have an unpleasant experience, they're able to come to you, because there's an open and transparent and safe relationship. And then in terms of the first part, Clement, of what was the first part? It was the social media, and the first part that you asked was?
The first part was around the warning signs. What do parents need to watch out for?
The warning signs. I think across the child's developmental years, it's always any kind of regression. So any kind of withdrawal, any kind of regression. So the different kinds of nervous system dysregulation that we see. So a child, in our philosophy or our approach that we follow, people will only react for survival and make choices that are not to their optimal, highest good and best interest if they've got a dysregulated nervous system. So looking out for any signs of nervous system dysregulation, and that could be withdrawal, it can be sleeping more, it can be eating less, it can also be the opposite of an activated nervous system. So agitation, hostility, irritation, being more active, sleeping less. Any kind of time you see a change in your child's functioning and behavior, and especially if there's a regression and also a disconnect, any kind of disconnect, any kind of discord that isn't manageable, and any kind of fragmentation from the family system, not only just, letting their friends be more and more influential, but withdrawing and fragmenting from the family system, those would be the warning signs that something is not okay.
Yeah, Jeannie Cave, clinical psychologist. Thanks for making time.
Enjoy the thrill of the Soccer Punches Challenge Weekend Edition, an all-new platform from Hollywood Bets. You stand a chance to win a share of the 5 million rand jackpot when you bet 5 rand or more on selected EPL matches over the weekend and correctly predict 10 out of 10 winning margins. Or chase the share of the 50,000 rand leaderboard prize. Entry is free. Let this soccer season bring sizzling success. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is licensed by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Prime Media, South Africa's most trusted media group, presents Prime Impact, a free 1-hour business seminar running daily at the Prime Media offices in Sandton from the 3rd to the 7th of November. Learn how radio and digital can reach your market, your target market, and grow your business with more customers. Every registered business received a tailored demo and a simple campaign plan. Plus, access to event-only package opportunities. Seats are limited. Secure your spot now. Register at Prime Media at primeimpact.co.za. That's primeimpact.co.za.
What you're hearing isn't a traffic accident. It's not panic braking. It's our amazing car-stopping 40th birthday deals. For a limited time only, Auto & General is offering great savings with our 40th birthday Ruby deals. Celebrate with us by visiting autogen.co.za for great personal and business car insurance savings. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. Offer available for a limited time only.
Coming up next, the Midday Report with Mindy Wynn. How are you doing, Mindy?
Good, thank you.
What's
Clement.
popping today?
Kat Matlala has been denied bail again. At the Madlanga inquiry, a ballistics expert is testifying. We'll find out more about Ted Don Morgan Maumela's 52 million rand hypercar. We'll speak to Busi Mavuso on what we've learned from getting off the fat of grey list, and we'll wrap up the weekend sport. What an F1.
Did you stay up last night?
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah. Left disappointed. It's time for the news. Thank you for listening to the show. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Bye-bye.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Maki Molapo. We begin in the courts where the Johannesburg High Court has agreed with a magistrate's court that alleged crime boss Vusmusi Ket Matlala as a flight risk. The High Court has this morning dismissed Matlala's bail application.